Good job. Way to go. Hey, run it out. Okay.
Great road trips start with great service. Graham Tire, your tire store next door, with 5 convenient Lincoln locations, getting you to the places that matter most.
Hi, it's Sean Callahan here with Koppel Chevrolet GMC in Louisville. Koppel is proud to be the highest rated GMC dealer in the Omaha and Lincoln areas based on Google reviews. Right now, get 0% financing for 60 months on new Silverado and Sierra 1500 models. But hurry, the 0% financing offer won't last long. Visit us in Louisville or check us out online at koppelcars.com.
You started your business to build something special. Now it's time to grow and protect it. At Pinnacle Bank, our treasury management services help you do just that. Through smarter payment technology, account administration, and fraud protection. So no matter the size of your business, you can get the most out of your financial operations. Request your free consultation at pinbank.com/consult. Pinnacle Bank, the way banking should be. Member FDIC.
Hey, Nebraska sports fans. This summer, professional tennis returns to Lincoln. Watch rising stars of the ATP Tour compete for over $100,000 in prize money for the 2026 Lincoln Challenger from July 12th to the 19th at the Sid and Hazel Dillon Tennis Center. Witness top tennis pros compete right here in Lincoln and experience tennis close-up like never before. To purchase tickets or to sign up for volunteer opportunities, please visit www.lincolnchallenger.com. Not just a stop, a stage. Lincoln Challenger 2026.
Big value and big flavor meet at Wings and Rings thanks to the all-new delicious Duo Combo. This is the one you've been waiting for. Get 1 half-sized appetizer and 2 entrees with a side for only $19.99. Bring a friend for the best deal in town on any day of the week, during game time, or whenever the heck you want. Their made-to-order wings and chicken sandwiches are waiting for you at their 68th and O and 40th and Old Cheney locations. Stop by Wings and Rings and celebrate every day with the best meal deal in town. MHC isn't a new company, just a new name. Moe's Moving is now Moe's Home and Commercial. Whether moving across town or across the state, MHC Moving has you covered, specializing in home, apartment, assisted, and independent living moves. MHC can handle your commercial moves as well. MHC Moving has 0 hidden fees. You'll never pay for same-day booking or be charged for stairs, heavy items, or elevator fees. Rates are the same Monday through Saturday, and you will never pay a truck or fuel surcharge. And they offer payment plans through PayPal. Call MHC Moving today at 402-853-7167 or go to mhcmoving.com.
At LES, safety always comes first for you and their employees. This National Safety Month, visit les.com/safety for easy tips to stay safe around electricity at home and at work.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet. KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket. Coming at you live from the heart of downtown Lincoln. This is Old School with Foreman and Orman. Old School with Foreman and Orman is sponsored by Graham Tire Company of Lincoln. Nebraska Football Hall of Famer Jay Foreman.
Here's Troy Detmer dropping straight back in the pocket. Rifles a pass. It was tipped and picked off by Foreman. He's at the 15, 10, 5. He'll score! Foreman got it, and it's touchdown Huskers.
Black shirts answer the call one more time.
And Austin Orman. Hour 1 of Old School is sponsored by Heartland of Nebraska Windows. Old School with Foreman and Orman on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
That's right. Welcome in. It is Old School here on a stormy Friday. We're about to make it rain. Some sports talk and information on you. 402-464-5685 if you want to be a part of the show. Austin Orman here at Bach will hang out with me for this first segment. We'll talk with Brian Munson, Husker football recruiting update ahead of a busy weekend, and plenty more in hour 1. Rudy will be along for hours 2 and 3 of the show. You can hang out all show long, 402-464-5685. Eric, I told you before that Jay was out the rest of the week, so don't get mad at me. Get mad at yourself for not listening or not remembering, okay? But no, Jay ought to be back on Monday, as far as I know. So appreciate DP sitting in yesterday, Rudy, for the next 2 hours. But with me now, Bach. What's up, Bach? How we doing?
Oh, not too much. Glad to be here. Very excited to talk some hoops with you.
Yes, that's what we're going to do in this first segment. DP, as he is wont to do, inspired me to go down a little bit of a rabbit hole. And it's regarding the Nebraska Men's Basketball Hall of Fame. And so that's going to be more fleshed out in Corner 3 tonight, coming up at 6. But in the process of going through some of my research, I was able to look back just really over the last, let's call it 12 seasons, 13 seasons, maybe not quite the last 15 or 20 years. And it seems like there's some sort of a spiritual succession, if you will, from Teran Petaway all the way through Price Sanford. You know, guys that would include, and at least in my estimation, Teran Petaway himself, James Palmer Jr., Keisei Tominaga, Bryce Williams, and Price Sanford. Now, I know that not all those guys played the exact same role. I know the team context, the head coach context, the conference context is wildly different between all 5 of them. But I think if you look at those 5 names, those are the primary bucket getters, the primary gravity guys on those teams. And to see the evolution of Nebraska as a basketball program from, we know it's Danny Manning in the Miracles, but it kind of felt like Teran Petaway in the Miracles for Nebraska there in that 2013-14 season, culminating toward the end of the regular season with No Sit Sunday, Nebraska's eventual run to the NCAA tournament, to James Palmer Jr. in back-to-back NIT appearances, all Big Ten first-team guys, both Petaway and Palmer, into Keisei Tominaga, who was at Nebraska and then blossomed into the best version of himself under Fred Hoiberg, kind of in the early part of his tenure, into Bryce Williams on that same team is when both those guys really broke out, and then into Price Sanford this last year. Again, I know that they're not all the same player. They didn't fill the exact same role, but it's interesting to see the evolution of Nebraska as a program from Petaway to Price Sanford.
Yeah, it really is, and it's obviously been a good journey. And again, every one of those players that you mentioned has earned us talking about them all these years later with how well they played. But yeah, a lot of different playing styles, a lot of different strengths. Even though some of them played in a similar position, and thankfully some more success as of late, as we've seen, of course, this past year. And it's so interesting because a lot of people do. And not to take the conversation anywhere else, but a lot of people kind of think, with Sam Hoiberg and Rick Mess and Price Sanford kind of part of that big 3. I'm so interested to see what Price Sanford does as kind of the known entity, right? Where everybody's going to come into the year. And it got this way, especially, probably midway through non-cons. Okay, circle this guy. We got to stop this guy. But now this year's going to come in. It's like, we know exactly what his strengths are. We know exactly how he beats people. We need to put our primary defender on him. And that's going to be the scouting report night in, night out. And, with some of these guys that we might talk about too, sometimes it can be harder when there's a little bit more of a scouting report out there on you.
Well, we can go through, the anecdotal thoughts on all of these guys, and I can pull up numbers as we go. Certainly didn't necessarily get easier for Teran Petaway from year to year, right? His sophomore year that he had at Nebraska, helping lead Nebraska as far as he did, averaged 18 points per game that year. His 2-point numbers, 48%, shot 32.7% from 3, was averaging about 5.7 made field goals per game on 13 attempts. The next year, made just under 6 shots per game on an even 15 attempts. His field goal percentage dipped below 40. And yeah, his scoring average went up by a whole 1/10 of a point. You can contrast that with James Palmer Jr. And again, team context goes such a long way in these discussions, right? Because James Palmer Jr. year over year at Nebraska. Oh, it didn't pull up. What are we doing? Why is it not pulling up? What's going on here? Come on, Sports Reference. Help me out here. Throw me a bone. There we go. Okay, so JPJ at Nebraska, his junior season, 17.2 points per game. His senior season, 19.7 points per game. Again, the efficiency dipped, but James Palmer Jr. senior year, injuries hit Nebraska, specifically the Isaac Copeland injury. But Petaway, big on-ball guy, ended up with higher volume. James Palmer Jr., big on-ball guy, ended up with more volume. Bryce Williams, I think you can throw maybe more in that Petaway Palmer Jr. camp, except that I think you can really start to see Bryce Williams as maybe the idealized version of some of that. Now, I didn't love the Point Bryce Williams experiment, but for Bryce Williams at Nebraska, he goes from being, what would you say, he was the second option, third option for Nebraska in that first tournament team under Fred? Where would you put him?
Yeah, again, he was kind of, and that was just that was interesting. I mean, I think it would depend on the night. Tominaga kind of took over as obviously the leading scorer. I think it would just depend on the night, but yeah, probably in their second, third.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't the headlining guy. I think Tominaga got a lot of the headlines as the true kind of guard and the attraction, I guess you would say. Rink Mast is the playmaking hub, as the big man being the revelation, and then Bryce Williams kind of fitting into the mold of what we've seen before between a 2 and a 3 kind of hybrid. But for Bryce Williams, he averaged an extra 7 points per game from 23-24, the first tournament team, to the crown team. But he did that while improving his efficiency. Yeah, he shot worse from 3 on an extra attempt and a half per game, but he still shot 37%. His overall efficiency went up from 44% on 9.5 attempts per game to 47% on nearly 14 shots per game. So Bryce Williams was actually able to step up into that role, right? Not just higher volume, but also higher efficiency, which didn't happen for Petaway, which didn't happen for Palmer. And yet Bryce Williams was also tasked with more of the playmaking responsibilities, more so than either of those two guys were, right? Tran Petaway wasn't really the point guard. I mean, I know he handled the ball a lot, ended up with still the single season record for usage percentage at Nebraska. James Palmer Jr. had obviously Glenn Watson Jr. to set the table for him. And if you look at Bryce Williams, you look at, Keisei Tominaga, you look at Sam Hoiberg, Raleigh Wooster, Aaron Eulis at times on the court for Bryce Williams, but Nebraska really tried to mold him into a point guard, which, they had to do with the construction of the roster and who was available and who wasn't. But I would still put Bryce Williams maybe more in that Petaway Palmer Jr. camp. If number one, do you agree with that? And number two, how would you order those three players in terms of their Nebraska careers?
Well, and I think team success, obviously, unfortunately, is well, fortunate or unfortunately, depending on where you want to. I mean, Tran Petaway, I think, is going to get a lot of, just kind of breaking the long-term not getting to the tournament was such a special, era there, and especially for being Tim Miles' only tournament team. When you think about the Tim Miles era, that's what you're going to go back to. But I think it is important to kind of note that year afterwards didn't go according to plan. Now that wasn't all his fault. Remember, Siobhan Shields and Walter Pitchford, his running mates from the year before, their numbers drastically went down. And so, he had a lot to carry, and he was really good, specifically in his sophomore year, like making bad shots, right? It was like, all right, don't take bad shots, but he was a good bad shot maker. And then, maybe hit a few less of those. And so you can kind of pile a little bit more frustration. But, I think Bryce Williams might have been the best out of all of those guys because, I mean, he's a 20-point per game scorer. We can't forget that. And his third leading scorer on that team was Connor Essegian. And that's not saying anything against Connor Essegian. Him and even Gary being the second leading scorer. I love Juwan Gary. I don't know if I want him having tasked to score 15 points a game, which is what he averaged there. And of course, that team was as locked into the tournament as anybody. They just had to win one of your final 5 games, right? And then didn't. And then, missed the Big Ten tournament and then the Crown. We all know kind of how that turned out. And, for the Crown tournament, that was great. Again, they all kind of have their different strengths. I think certainly the most smooth among that group, Bryce Williams would be, but Palmer was great at getting to the line. Again, Petaway could bail you out. So everybody's kind of got their strengths there. I don't know because there's so many different, like if I had to pick like you said, if you just look at it through the Nebraska career lens, it's so hard not to factor in team success. And I know you might look at it a little bit differently, but I just, after, part of it's just kind of like going through, right? I was a diehard Nebraska basketball fan from 99 to 2014 when they made the tournament. It was just, there wasn't a whole lot of ups, right? There was some hopes of making the NIT here and there, but, so to finally kind of get past that, I think it elevates Petaway in a lot of people's minds, but, for any of them too, and like all of them, like you said, first team all Big Ten, they're some of the best to ever do it here at Nebraska one way or the other. So if you're number 3 on my list, so be it, right?
Right. I mean, are they 1 ABC, 1 AB, and 2? Something in that I don't really know, because to me, it's really splitting hairs between Palmer Jr. and Bryce Williams. And my own personal bias of what I'm looking for in a basketball player really holds me back from elevating Tran Petaway that much more, just because of the drop-off year over year. that run that he took that Nebraska team on to make the tournament, I mean, that's going to live forever in Husker fans' hearts. Obviously, maybe not as much as the 2 victories this year or whatever, but let's not forget how special that run was. In some of the moments that team, led by Teran Petaway, gave Nebraska fans. Again, first team All Big Ten guy, deservedly so, right? Got hot at the right time, was pretty consistent year to year. We just haven't seen many guys like Teran Petaway at Nebraska. I think I would, well, this is obviously going to sound funny, but, I think Teddy Allen could have been Teran Petaway, but Petaway was better. You have to give him credit for that. Stuck it out at Nebraska longer, didn't flame out in the same way as Teddy Allen did. Now, Petaway never went for 40 like Teddy Buckets did in that fateful night against Penn State. But again, kind of in that, primary possession finisher kind of role, I still probably take Teran Petaway in terms of what he actually did at Nebraska. And then it comes down to Palmer Jr. versus Bryce Williams. And I think I would give James Palmer Jr., it's hard to say, a little bit of an edge as a more natural scorer, because I think that the Bryce Williams bag was plenty deep, right? Bryce Williams was clearly a better shooter. I think James Palmer Jr. was maybe more shoehorned into that one role, though. And I want to give Bryce Williams credit for versatility. I also think that, we give Bryce Williams credit for helping lead a team to the NCAA tournament, where, yeah, I think it's pretty well established at this point that with the metrics we use today, or see used today, that 2017-18 Nebraska team is pretty clearly a tournament team. Single-digit seed, borderline, but it's probably an 8 or 9 matchup, right? Maybe they get the play in. I don't know, but they're not missing the tournament. They're certainly not just hosting one game in the NIT before having to go on the road and take on TCU. But the fact of the matter is that James Palmer Jr. never played in an NCAA tournament, and Bryce Williams did. I don't know if I can pick between the two of them. I think they're just so similar when it comes down to it. James Palmer Jr., number 1 career player efficiency rating at Nebraska, number 1 career offensive box plus minus, number 2 career points per game. Whereas Bryce Williams, single season points leader, 713 in 35 games, single game scoring leader. Yeah, I know it took him a bunch of overtimes to get there, but he still did. And for as many shots as James Palmer Jr. took for that 18-19 Nebraska team, there was more offensive burden placed on Bryce Williams. He has the Nebraska record for most made shots in a conference season and most attempted field goals in a conference season. Palmer Jr. was a savant at getting to the free throw line, and that's where he did a lot of his damage. He holds the records in that way. I do want to shift gears here, though, Bach, to the other two guys that can succeed with the ball in their hands, but are probably best known for their off-ball gravity and what it did to warp defenses. Keisei Tominaga and Price Sandfort. Again, the way these two guys play, I think they're in the spiritual successor line in terms of, like I led the segment off saying, guys that are going to take maybe not the bulk of the shots, but their fair share of the shots that are going to threaten defenses from all 3 levels, right? All 3 of these players in the other group did that as well. We can't sell Keisei Tominaga's rim pressure short as well. He had that kind of crafty in between game. His chemistry with Derek Walker on the back cut on either side of the court was entertaining to watch. And Price Sandfort finished, at a pretty high rate near the cup as well. I mean, one of the best 2-point shooting seasons in Nebraska history because of the gravity that his 3-point shooting provides. I lump these two guys maybe more in that category of off-ball shooting guards, but still probably dominant in terms of the percentage of shots they'll take and the way they dictate what defenses have to do against Nebraska.
Well, it's interesting, too, as you mentioned that, because I do think of both of them and think, well, maybe they didn't have as much, presence on the defensive end. But that's when you kind of look at the whole list and kind of, wonder, and some of them had just some other teammates that maybe filled that out a little bit more. But, that's even interesting in itself. Like, who's the best defender among this group? But
who would you take?
Maybe Bryce, I would say.
I think Bryce is probably the best in terms of multi-positionality, right? I think he was asked to guard more positions than any of the other guys. Tominaga did have a knack for timing in hands, but the size comes into effect. I think Sandfort's a decent positional guy. I think he has the smarts to do it off ball. James Palmer Jr. also averaged a steal and a steal and a half per game playing and starting every of his final 69 games of his college career there at Nebraska. Was James Palmer Jr. ever a lockdown guy? No, there's a reason he wasn't threatening for Big Ten all defense, and none of these guys were. But I think in terms of, pure box score impact, it's probably James Palmer Jr., but straight up, I'm probably taking Bryce Williams.
Yeah. So and good numbers there, because I did forget a little bit of that. That James did have some theftiness to him, if you will. So
I love that.
He needs he needs some credit in that discussion too. But yeah, I think it is a good kind of split with those guys. Obviously, Tominaga and Price can do it a little bit different. If you want your own shot, Casey could get that a little bit better. Price might be more of the knockdown shooter. And again, part of this is kind of, let's see what's next. Like we're saying with a lot of these guys, what is the next step? And so Price can kind of put himself certainly in his own category if he can follow this up. How many two-time all Big Ten players are there, or all conference players, even in Nebraska history? So that's going to be kind of interesting to see. And then I do think, like you said, Casey helped lead Nebraska to that tournament. Felt like the perfect time for that, a big moment, and he could get some run there in March Madness, but did not happen. And so, again, team success, I think in the long run, Price. Still say Peyton to this day. I'm sorry, Price. He's just
come on. There's one good one and there's one Iowa.
I know, he's just the first Stanford I knew of, so it always just sticks to my mind. Yeah, so I think the team success is going to help a lot in discussion for Price, but Casey is almost kind of his own his
own category.
Yeah, category. Yeah. Different recognition than maybe a little bit more that you see from obviously overseas than we see from Iowa, I guess. So it's just it's wild, and to rank them again can be very difficult when you kind of go through it. But just different players, and so we need there's different rankings. Obviously, you go all about it, and you try to put it in a complete package. That's why, again, I think it's so entertaining, because as you mentioned earlier, you can be a better player and not have necessarily as good of a career, right?
Right. No, I think that's completely spot on. I think if you just look at these guys in a lineup, you would think that Tominaga and Pettaway would probably be the two that would have the ball in their hands the most, just by pure size, right? Pettaway played some point in a lot of shooting guard as well, and Tominaga was a shooting guard by trade, but you think that both those guys are masterful on ball. It's kind of wild how little Keisei Tominaga, had the ball in his hands in a traditional sense, right? The fact that he was so dangerous moving without the basketball played into his hands, right? I mean, he's listed officially at 6'2". I don't know if I believe that necessarily, but sure, if that's what Sports Reference is going with and what Nebraska is going with, I will have to go with it as well. Let me ask you this. Rank those 5 players. Who do you trust most shooting the three?
Again, I think that can change based on what you're looking at. A stand and shoot and find them open Stanford, I think. If you need to create it, I think Keisei Tominaga. If it's going to be a difficult game on the line, maybe you go with Pettaway. So, I mean, it's just tough. I would probably still, I think Stanford's probably earned it.
He has by far the highest volume. I mean, taking essentially 10 3-pointers per game for Nebraska and hitting them at a 40% clip for the season. That's absolutely absurd. Now, I think Tominaga hit probably some of the most ridiculous threes you'll see, including some of the most audacious ones. I think Pettaway hit some of the most Y-League, of just playing down the local rec kind of threes. I want to give a lot of credit, though, to James Palmer Jr. and Bryce Williams. I think that we sleep on Bryce Williams' shooting ability. This is a guy that shot 38.8 and 37% from three his last 2 years at Nebraska. I had his numbers for the previous year as well. I know it was above 30. I'll get it pulled up to be more specific here. But yeah, at Nebraska, this year, he was 38.8 and 37% on relatively middling volume, 3.8 attempts in 23-24 and 5.3 attempts per game in the crown season in 24-25. But Bryce was also a knockdown free throw shooter, 84% and 88% in his time at Nebraska. I think that Bryce Williams' three-point shooting was leaps and bounds better than Palmer Jr.'s just as a spot-up guy. I think the mechanics were a little bit more consistent. both guys were pretty lean and gangly, but Palmer Jr. looked like he got out of whack a little bit. Bryce Williams would, for the most part, hit his open spot up ones, missed a couple backbreakers at times that you would like the best player on a postseason team to hit, but I'm not going to hold too much of that against him. Palmer Jr. hit some really clutch ones. I think about the one against Illinois, I believe it was, to win the game at one point. He was good for an off-the-dribble three, just like Bryce Williams was. And so to me, I think that Bryce Williams is probably a step up from James Palmer Jr. as a shooter in a similar-ish sort of role, especially that final season for both guys. And I'm going to take Bryce Sanford as a better shooter than Keisei Tominaga. I know Keisei had the circus ones. They both did the off-ball movement thing pretty well. And I know that the style of play in the team context has a lot to do with it. But it's really hard for me to argue with 40% on high volume.
Yeah.
And there's nothing like, like I said, the Petaway run that Nebraska went on in 13-14. It's hard to argue against that. And I don't want to diminish those memories. I'm not at all trying to diminish the memories of Keisei Tominaga against Indiana, against Northwestern, against Purdue, and so many others. But I would give the nod to Bryce Sanford. The last thing here, Bach, before we go to break, it's interesting to see the difference in play style as well, because you could take Keisei Tominaga and Bryce Sanford out of the game, probably more so than you could take Petaway, Palmer Jr., and Williams out of the game. And some of that's just a function of on ball. Right now, Petaway and Palmer Jr. could shoot Nebraska out of the game. Bryce Williams, what other options did Nebraska have at that point? Even more so, I would argue, in some ways than Petaway and Palmer Jr., especially than Palmer Jr. There are plenty of other guys on that Nebraska team you would have thought would have been capable. But for the extreme highs that it felt like Keisei Tominaga and Bryce Sanford got on, I also feel like when they weren't doing anything, there wasn't even anything in the box score. Palmer Jr., Petaway, and even Williams would still get some shots up, right? They would still, hypothetically be rebounding in some ways. And Sanford got better at that. But I think of all those players, Keisei Tominaga probably disappeared, might not be the right word, but was able to be taken out of a game plan, probably the easiest of any of those guys.
Yeah, I would say so. And, so again, it just depends on what you're looking for. You can go back to kind of that shooting, like Palmer, I think, was barely over 30% for his career. Petaway was probably like for 3-point shooting. Petaway was, close to 31. So when you 31, 32%. So you compare that to like Sanford and Tominaga, again, it can be tough there. But to your point, I think there needs to be a lot of credit. And that's what's going to be the ask next for Bryce Sanford. Okay. What if it doesn't, very rare and hard to even imagine, but what if your shot's not falling, or what is kind of your next step there? And, I think that's a big part of him, coming back, and why, he's evaluated the way he is to be able to do a little bit more, maybe defensively or with your shot, to open up for more teammates or more kind of that off ball stuff. And he looked pretty good, especially early on in the season, in doing that. So, again, it's hard to pick apart any of these guys' game, because they all contributed so much to their teams and were such big parts of it. But, and that's where you kind of get into the thought process of, well, maybe for some of the guys that had a little less help, what if you place them on one of these other teams? And because, like you said, I mean, for especially Petaway's junior year, he just didn't have the help that he got in his sophomore year. So he was the guy. At times, James Palmer Jr., you're just going to have to be, certainly Bryce, by the end of his year here, senior year here, was like, you'd go into games thinking, well, if he doesn't score, who's going to get the double digits? Yeah. So it is. There's a lot of pressure, a lot of different ways to kind of look at this, but man, just, if you ask us to rank them, golly, it's tough. But I don't know. Do you think Nebraska should? I've always kind of thought this, and I know it's not maybe a popular decision, but they've only got 4 banners hanging up there for jerseys. Should they lean into a little bit more of the history that they do? I mean, maybe just a banner for all conference player, at least, freshen up, decorate a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, I think first team all conference players or players of the year, you need a banner, I think, for those, right? And I know it's pretty sparse at this point right now. It would be Andre Smith and Benson Hamilton for conference players of the year. And your last 3, first team all conference guys are Petaway, Palmer Jr., and Williams with Sanford with a first team and a second team nod last year. So yes, I'm all in on, put that up there, even if their individual numbers don't get up to the rafters.
Yeah. I just think you could decorate a little bit more. You know, again, you're not going to convince anybody that you should hang as many banners as the Celtics or something like that. But you can have. I think they could because again, you look at these guys and what they meant to Nebraska, and and that's what you wonder is like, what does it take to get to that level? And it felt like even. I'll be completely honest with Tron Lue. It felt like he had to hit a certain level in coaching before they decided to do that, to honor him there. So we'll have to wait and see if there's anything down the line for these guys. But there's just I'm glad I didn't realize that I had this much of a struggle in ranking these guys, because like you said, there's just a lot of them, so many wildly different ways and teams and impacts that they had on the game that. I want to rank one ahead of the other, and then I started to think of a different, scenario.
And we'll wrap up the segment with this. Gun to my head, tier 1 is Palmer Jr. and Williams. Tier 2 in climbing is Sandfort. Then it's Tominaga and Petaway for me. And we'll might have to get into that more. Let me know your thoughts on the Starter Heyman Jewelers text line, 402-464-5685. We'll talk about that a little bit more at 3:45. But for now, Brian Munson of Husker Online joins us talking Husker football recruiting on the other side.
You're listening to Old School with Jay Foreman and Austin Orman. Download the mobile app and listen wherever you are on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Graham Tire presents life's greatest adventures.
Okay, buddy, here we go. Just keep your eye on the ball. All right, just swing right through it. Yeah, good job. Way to go. Hey, run it out. Okay.
Great road trips start with great service. Graham Tire, your tire store next door, with 5 convenient Lincoln locations, getting you to the places that matter most.
Ever look at your house and think, ouch, it's stuck in the past? Or realize that your kitchen needs a new everything? Like thousands of homeowners, you can simply call SprayNet Lincoln. Their patented spray system and paint delivers a flawless factory finish. No mess, done in a day, and cost-effective. It looks just like new, including your vinyl. And it's all backed by their 15-year no-peel warranty. SprayNet Lincoln, custom chemistry and smarter painting. Google SprayNet Lincoln or call them now at 402-383-3336 or email ching@spray-net.com.
Here's your updated 93.7 The Ticket forecast, sponsored by Bryant Air Conditioning, Electrical, Heating, and Plumbing. A flood watch begins at 7 p.m. tomorrow night and remains in effect until 7 a.m. Sunday. Mainly cloudy skies this afternoon with a chance of thunderstorms. Highs around 84, northerly winds 5 to 10 miles per hour. That's your updated forecast on Lincoln's home for the Kansas City Royals. 93.7 The Ticket. I'm meteorologist Kara Foster. Right now, 77.
Select Plumbing and Utility has been serving Lincoln and the surrounding area for 14 years, and they're not slowing down. Select Plumbing and Utility handles all your plumbing needs, from faucets and water heaters to full renovations, and they can even help with your heating and cooling needs. They're also Lincoln's underground experts, repairing and replacing broken underground water and sewer lines since day one. Contact Select Plumbing and Utility today at 402-560-6197, assuring excellence in every situation, opportunity, and challenge. That's 402-560-6197.
Hey, Nebraska sports fans. This summer, professional tennis returns to Lincoln. Watch rising stars of the ATP Tour compete for over $100,000 in prize money for the 2026 Lincoln Challenger from July 12th to the 19th at the Sid and Hazel Dillon Tennis Center. Witness top tennis pros compete right here in Lincoln and experience tennis close-up like never before. To purchase tickets or to sign up for volunteer opportunities, please visit www.lincolnchallenger.com. Not just a stop, a stage. Lincoln Challenger 2026.
At LES, safety always comes first for you and their employees. This National Safety Month, visit les.com/safety for easy tips to stay safe around electricity at home and at work.
Looking for the ultimate game day spot? Arbor Axe House has everything you need. Axe throwing, cold beers, and the big game. Whether you're celebrating a win or talking trash with friends, nothing beats the rush of sticking an axe while cheering on your favorite team. Perfect for bullseye beginners and seasoned pros. Our axe throwing experts keep the fun going and the drinks flowing. Step up to the plate at Arbor Axe House. Book a lane at arboraxe.com or call 402-802-9696. Arbor Axe House on the corner of N Street and Antelope Avenue.
Back to old school with Foreman and Orman on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
That's right. Welcome back in. It is Old School Show brought to you by the good folks over at Graham Tire Company. They have 4 Lincoln locations, plenty more throughout the Midwest. Check them out online. Give them a call. Don't worry. They will take care of your car just like they take care of mine. Taking care of all the information that I need, you need, we need in terms of Husker football recruiting. It's Brian Munson of Husker Online who joins us now on our Allo Fiber VIP line. Brian Munson, it's not a Monday, it's a Friday. How's your week been, my friend?
I was just going to say, dude, if you're telling me that we're rolling back to Monday, I'm just going to go ahead and just tap out right now. It was such a killer week. I'm happy it's Friday. I've got the World Cup on in the background, wrapping up a little bit of work and thinking about what things we will be having to work on this weekend when it comes to recruiting and stuff.
It's been busy, as we've talked about. Nebraska adds a couple commitments we'll get to here in just a sec. The story around Lincoln, though, is Red Sea Rising, including the second annual Battle of the Boneyard, the 7-on-7 camp. More so than any specific players, teams, or anything like that, Brian. What was the response to this camp last year and bringing in these 7-on-7 teams, obviously an Adidas-sponsored camp? Did Nebraska, get any big dividends in terms of relationships, players, notoriety, visibility? What was the benefit of that camp last year, and what's Nebraska looking for out of it this year?
Well, I mean, it was a uber talented, tournament. There was a lot of people that were off the record, talking to folks from Husker Online that basically said it was like the most talented 7-on-7 tournament they've ever been to. Wow. So we know that there was a lot of talent there, and it kind of coincided last year with the huddle event that was also in Lincoln during that time. So you had guys that were kind of splitting their time, or maybe some guys that weren't planning on doing 7-on-7, and all of a sudden like Trey Taylor goes over and picks up a football, and Ahmad Hudson, all of a sudden is playing too, and and those were like the big storylines last year, obviously out of that deal. So it's similar-ish, in that respect, because obviously the play that Trey had last night, where he's running around, forever, doing what he does, was just kind of magical. Great for Nebraska fans to see. A lot of coverage, got a lot of coverage with it. And I think that obviously it's a great opportunity to bring everybody out to let them see what Nebraska has to offer. I just cannot just emphasize it enough that there are still folks that are, just don't believe that you're going to see any type of meaningful development in Nebraska and Omaha or Lincoln. I mean, heck, there were College World Series kids coming from Ole Miss, like Oxford's something to go ahead and write home about, and talking about how they didn't think they would even see a building in Omaha. It's kind of wild, these misconceptions, I guess, about how the folks of Nebraska struggle with not being able to create upright buildings and such. So anyway, I think it's always awesome, and I think Nebraska's done a great job, with their developments there, with their facilities, and obviously it gives those kids kind of a great chance to check it out, and for Nebraska to see some of these kids up closer. There were some offers out of last season too. So, and I know that like the big band camp is tomorrow, and there's going to be some dudes at it too. So it's in official visitors this weekend. It's another busy weekend, that last one in the month of June, before we get ready to kind of roll back into a dead period.
This 7-on-7 camp and idea, was this an Adidas idea that they floated to Nebraska? Or is this a Matt Rule thing, a Troy Dannon thing? And, is it going to outlast, any given head coach or athletic director and be a staple for Nebraska?
I think it's actually very collaborative. I think that Nebraska was looking for an event, or I guess maybe I should say ways to keep encouraging recruits, or players like you have here on 7-on-7, an opportunity to come to Lincoln to check things out. And I think it really kind of started there. What can we do when it comes to creating something, inviting this, doing that? And then I think that once you had the idea, you needed a vehicle. And then of course, then it became collaborative with Adidas to go ahead and kind of make things happen. So I think it started with the idea, obviously, that Nebraska is all about bringing kids in whenever they can get the kids to come. And then they needed that vehicle or that way to do it, and that's where Adidas filled in that kind of void.
It's one of the tools Nebraska has in recruiting. The other is a heck of a staff, apparently, on the defensive side of the ball. We'll start in the defensive backfield. Addison Williams secures another one. Brian, Jalen Hill, long, lanky DB from a winning program. What does that addition mean for Nebraska in recruiting?
It means they have 2 cornerback commitments that are 6'2" or taller in the 2027 class. Jalen Hill is fun. He is a fun corner to watch. Now, not that Bryce Williams isn't, but I will say that like Jalen Hill has a very unique way of covering a lot of ground. He has this height. He has this wingspan. He's very quick. He's a track guy back there. And, you can't really just like dump it in over their heads when you start talking about that catch radius that those guys have when they're that tall, when they have arms that long, they have the wingspan. So Jalen, to me, I mean, and obviously I think the one part, and this is a part I try to emphasize it in the What Does It Mean article that I write, after every commitment. I think it says a lot about the league that he's playing in out there in California, you got TJ Lateef 2 years ago, you got Luke Sorensen last year. You're going into an area where I think a lot of Nebraska fans, could rattle off 2 or 3, high schools. You start talking about Orange Lutheran or Anaheim Servite or Mater Dei or, and you can just kind of keep going on and on. Now you got St. John Bosco. You can name so many schools off over there because they are like perennially, one of those top schools in the country, and schools obviously that you tend to see a lot of recruits, come out from and be developed from. So I think that obviously gives them a bit of a heads up. I think it gives like Williams an advantage as well. When you start coming from more of a competitive background, you're going to see a jump obviously in competitiveness and in talent no matter what. But obviously it won't be as significant if you were coming from somewhere that maybe didn't have that, that type of competition in the league or from that kind of a populated area necessarily.
Yeah, Nebraska beats out some pretty interesting schools, especially on the West Coast for Jalen Hill. We know there's a big battle that you talked about a bunch on this program for Bryce Williams that Nebraska ends up winning. The other guy I think I want to bring into this conversation here, specifically on the outside, Brian, is Danny Odom. How do you compare those 3 guys in terms of skill set overlap, similarities, differences? Who in your mind is the best prospect just from high school pedigree of those 3?
Danny's a little bit of a different style. Danny had an ability to kind of get on a guy's hip, and then he was kind of like a suction cup. I think what kind of makes Bryce and Jalen a little bit more special is that Bryce for sure loves to bait quarterbacks. He loves to know where he can go ahead and give a cushion and cover a lot of ground and make a play. And that takes a lot of preparedness. That takes a lot of film study. That takes a lot of understanding, like where you are with personnel, down and distance, field position, et cetera, where it would make sense. So there's a guy like Bryce back there that understands, hey, in this particular situation, when they roll out in this formation, this wide receiver, may decide to run this route, stay here at the top of the route. And then the next time, chances are he's going to fake this and he's going to give me a step and he's going to decide to just do an out and up or do something else like that. He has another layer to him when it comes to that. And he goes back and he says, okay, I'm going to make it seem like I'm beat. I understand how fast this guy is. I understand, that I can catch up with him in so many steps over so many yards, et cetera, and I can make a play. And you can see this stuff on Huddle. Like when you go back and turn on his Huddle film, it's very clear that he is baiting quarterbacks into making throws because he knows he can go make a play on the football. And I think Jalen Hill does that somewhat. I think he trails a little bit further than what Danny does typically on his coverage. And I think it's because, he is so long. But I think Danny for me was a better man-to-man kind of playing it straight up the middle, kind of coverage guy.
Talking with Brian Munson of Husker Online here on our Aloe Fiber VIP line. One more just question on that before we move off to that. Kind of that bait play style, right? To know how much ground you can cover, how much speed that you have to recover. Is that a play style that pays dividends often in college for guys? Or is there more of an adjustment period for them compared to like a Danny Odom? How have you seen that play out at the college level?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's not something that you want to risk too often, right? I think that you have to, more often than not, play it more straight up like a Danny Odom would, because maybe you understand that you're just that significantly better than the other player across from you, or you have this ability to kind of pick it up because it's fairly simple for you. But complexity, and I think overall athleticism, and I think just like speed of the game goes up, and it's not something you can come out and just use right away. You might be able to kind of get there, but I don't think either of them have that ability right out the gate. It's certainly something that where you're going to be better off, like I said, playing it straight up the middle, a little bit better man-to-man. They obviously have great length. I think the part about it is as well that they have that versatility. They can do corner, they can do boundary, they can do field, and they can roll back to safety. I think that versatility is something that we also talked about with Danny Odom. Yeah. You're going to hear it mentioned as well with these two guys. It's a fabulous group. I think that Addison Williams done a great job putting some really long bodies in there, and try to add like a Kamari Whitfield now to it, like as a nickel corner, would be an interesting guy there. And I think a Corey Hadley, who he also recruited at safety, could also play nickel corner as well.
Elsewhere on the defensive side of the ball, Nebraska flips Caleb Green, linebacker, away from Missouri. What went into that? What's Nebraska landing in Caleb Green?
Yeah, I think that Caleb, obviously, Jamar Mosey has got some incredible ties to the Kansas City area. I think that that's the first part, because you also got Justin Lindsay at wide receiver that obviously jumped in the class too. They're both from the Kansas City area. I think that, when you start talking about like Rob Orich's defense and you're looking at what those guys at the second level are all about, I think you really have to understand, like, when you take a linebacker off the field, athleticism is necessary. You have to have that incredible straight line speed. You have to have amazing lateral speed and athleticism. And, Caleb Green's got that. And that's the part I think is going to be very fun to kind of watch with him, is because I think he's not a traditionally sized linebacker. Neither is Eli, the linebacker commitment from Grayson High School. I think that they're a little undersized, to be honest with you. But the production that they have, I think, says so much about them as just like, not the size of the dog in the fight, the size of the fight in the dog. And they have an ability to get after guys and run fit, and fill gaps and shed blocks and drop off into space and do all the things. And I think it's one of the biggest reasons why, and I think this is something that Nebraska is kind of realizing that will work in the defense that they're trying to put together, is that athleticism really is that key ingredient that you have to have at that second level. It would be great to have a 6'2" or 6'4" guy there. There's no doubt about it, because you're starting to talk prototypical at that point. But I think that in the end, I think in order to kind of attract those guys, you're going to need some players to come there to Nebraska and put up the stats and really, get some attention. And then maybe you can start to turn that on to those 6'2", 6'4" guys a year or two down the road.
Other side of the ball, then, Brian Barrett-Cottrell, done with his official visits. From your writing, sounds like he's down to Nebraska and Iowa. Do you have a sense about what he likes for each program, and if there's a lean one way or the other?
Man, I tell you what, he is tough to get a read on. I give him total, complete credit. I mean, he's a Husker legacy. I think that needs to be said first and foremost. I don't think that there's a massive difference in compensation, NIL, rev share, noticeable enough to where it gives one team an advantage over the other. I think as the longer that it goes, I think it's always better for the in-state school. I think it becomes more and more difficult to get away from, just staying home and things all being equal, that there's more of an upside to being down the road 45 minutes than, say, going away for, a few hours away down the road. It's kind of old fashioned, I think, to maybe kind of say it that way, but it tends to win out. And then you kind of hope that it doesn't play that way with Kyler Kuhn. But I think Nebraska, the interesting part with Cottrell is that they opened it up with him. They see a 6'4" guy, and they think that maybe he still is growing based on what he was saying from his official visit. And they're going to open it up for him to play all 5 spots. And then they see Kyler Kuhn as a guy that, they really want leading that pretty incredible group of offensive linemen that they've already got pulled together in the 2027 class. So they can see him playing center, and and then they see Cottrell as a guy that can play tackle to tackle. So I think that's what is so interesting about it. Even with the talent they have in the class, with the roles that they have kind of explained to Cottrell and Kuhn, it doesn't sound like these are just like if we get you kind of roles. It sounds like like it's a real necessary thing for Nebraska to get those guys to kind of make sure you have those types of players in the room according to like what Coach Wade's what he's trying to do.
Coach Wade gets high praise from pretty much everyone we've heard you talk to. Mm-hmm. Seems there's a common thread there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's you want to have your guys in the room, and I think that there's going to be some changes, obviously, and I think that you're going to want to reset it, with your guys as much as you possibly can in this first class, and he's got a great opportunity to. That's for sure.
There you have it. Recruiting update from Brian Munson of Husker Online. B. Munson, appreciate it as always. We'll give you Monday off and not roll the week back. We'll talk to you in about 10 days, see what comes of this weekend and more for that 27 class for Nebraska. Thanks as always.
Sounds good, buddy. Have a good weekend.
Brian Munson with us on our Allo Fiber VIP line. Allo Fiber, the official internet provider of Nebraska. Check them out online. Allo Fiber does great work for us here at The Ticket, for me at my house, and plenty of others here in our community as well. We'll be back to wrap up hour 1 of Old School momentarily.
Watch Old School live on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. Old School with Foreman and Orman on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Are you looking for an exciting new way to put your skills to work? Explore new career options in the fintech industry at Currency, a Sandhills Global company. We offer full-time positions in financial sales, compliance, operations, and other fields. We also offer a 4.5-day work week, an attractive benefits package, and opportunities for advancement. Put your motivation to work and grow with us at Currency. Visit gocurrency.com/careers to learn more.
Imagine starting your day with a computer glitch that leaves you feeling stuck, frustrated, and unable to get your work done. You have 1,000,001 things to get done today, and waiting for the tech issue to solve itself isn't one of them. It's time to let Hamilton handle the tech so you don't have to. We help businesses across the state spend more time on what they do best and less time frustrated with office technology. As the official business IT partner of the Huskers, we're focused on providing custom solutions that set you up for success now and in the future. Connect with us today at hamiltonisbusiness.com.
Rick Heyman here from Sartor Heyman Jewelers. I want to personally thank our great customers for voting us once again the best of Lincoln. At the same time, we're celebrating our 120th year in business in the great state of Nebraska. You can count on Sartor Heyman for the very best quality, value, and customer service. When it comes to your jewelry needs, visit us at South Point, Grand Island, and the Outlet in downtown Lincoln. Visit us today at sartorheyman.com, and thank you for your continued trust after all these years.
Staying healthy and comfortable starts with the air you breathe. If you're noticing more dust, odors, or allergies, it could be time for duct cleaning from Bryant. Pure Air starts with cleaner air ducts. Pair with enhanced filtration and purifications options, and the difference is amazing. When the air you breathe is clean and fresh, your home smells fresher and your family is healthier. Time for cleaner air in your home? Call Bryant for a free estimate. Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing. 467-1111. Bryant, whatever it takes.
You started your business to build something special. Now it's time to grow and protect it. At Pinnacle Bank, our treasury management services help you do just that. Through smarter payment technology, account administration, and fraud protection. So no matter the size of your business, you can get the most out of your financial operations. Request your free consultation at pinbank.com/consult. Pinnacle Bank, the way banking should be. Member FDIC.
At DWE Generations, having a plan matters, especially when it comes to protecting what's most important. They work with individuals, families, and business owners to help make smart financial decisions that support life today and set the foundation for generations. David Darlington, Russell Walton, and Cody Eiler bring decades of experience, and their dedicated team provides follow-through, answering questions, explaining next steps, and staying connected as life evolves. DWE Generations, a generational wealth planning firm. DWE Generations is a marketing name for individuals doing business as representatives of Northwestern Mutual. Visit generations.nm.com or call 402-483-7871 and ask for David, Russell, or Cody.
Get rid of pesky critters once and for all with Bats to Rats. Their expert team is here to help you reclaim your home. No more sleepless nights caused by crawling critters or flapping wings. Bats to Rats ensures a safe environment for every family member. Check the website at batstoRats.com for amazing offers, and if you mention this ad, you'll receive $10 off your initial inspection cost. Call Bats to Rats today at 402-781-8691. That's 402-781-8691. Bats to Rats.
If you're seeking a career with a growing company, Gaina Trucking and Excavating is hiring and looking for additions to their team. Gaina Trucking has a strong team culture, competitive pay, 401ks, and benefits like health, dental, and vision. Drivers are guaranteed 40 hours per week, even in the winter months, and are home every night. Start your career today at Gaina Trucking and Excavating. Apply today at GainaTrucking.com.
Imagine starting your day with a computer glitch that leaves you feeling stuck, frustrated, and unable to get your work done. You have 1,000,001 things to get done today, and waiting for the tech issue to solve itself isn't one of them. It's time to let Hamilton handle the tech so you don't have to. We help businesses across the state spend more time on what they do best and less time frustrated with office technology. As the official business IT partner of the Huskers, we're focused on providing custom solutions that set you up for success now and in the future. Connect with us today at hamiltonisbusiness.com.
Rick Heyman here from Sartor Heyman Jewelers. I want to personally thank our great customers for voting us once again the best of Lincoln. At the same time, we're celebrating our 120th year in business in the great state of Nebraska. You can count on Sartor Heyman for the very best quality, value, and customer service. When it comes to your jewelry needs, visit us at South Point, Grand Island, and the Outlet in downtown Lincoln. Visit us today at sartorheyman.com, and thank you for your continued trust after all these years.
Back to old school with Foreman and Orman on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
That's right. Welcome back in as we wrap up hour one of Old School. Big thank you to Brian Munson of Husker Online for joining us, talk some Nebraska football recruiting. A few things to get to here on our Sartor Heyman Jewelers text line. We'll do that momentarily, but first, a big thank you to the good folks at Heartland of Nebraska Windows for sponsoring hour one of the show. They're based out of Hallam, Nebraska. They offer free estimates, full window replacements, all vinyl triple pane windows, and a lifetime warranty on everything while keeping their prices affordable. Heartland of Nebraska Windows is locally and family owned with their own team of installers. Give Heartland of Nebraska Windows a call today for more info at 402-430-3852. You can also visit them online at heartlandofnebraskawindows.com. To our Sartor Heyman Jewelers text line we go. We got one from Brad. I wish Nebraska had one more year with Bryce Williams and what that team would have looked like. I think it's an interesting world in which Nebraska gets Bryce Williams in 22-23 for sure. You add him to that group. How intriguing is that team? Are they able to do better than a 500 overall record? If you keep Bryce Williams for this last year's team, and Bryce Williams would have been a super duper senior, right? Not just a super senior. Obviously, there's a role for a guy that scores 20 points per game in the Big Ten with positional versatility, especially because I think it could have looked more like 23-24 than it did 24-25. And Nebraska having both Williams and Sanford
to be able to play the 2 or the 3, maybe have Williams downshift to the 1 a little bit, but probably not nearly as much, with a guy like Sam Hoiberg in his development. I think Price Sandfort playing the 2 in some lineups, primarily the 3, you could have slotted Williams in there at the 2. What he brings is a little different than what Jamarcus Lawrence brought to the table for Nebraska. So I think there's a reason that this last year's team clicked as well as it did. I think a lot of pieces fit together pretty well. And on the surface, yeah, adding a guy with Bryce Williams' talent, his knowledge of the system, wouldn't have hurt anything necessarily. It's hard for me to say that Nebraska sorely missed Bryce Williams last year. And Westy, how was the wife's reaction to the cutting board? She thought it was dope. I took it. I put it up in our living room with some of the other decor. So it's sitting on top of a bookshelf right now, looking down over us. And we're looking at it pretty much the whole time that we're sitting there on the couch and relaxing. So it looks great. A huge thank you to you, Westy, specifically for that. Great to meet you in person, by the way, as well. We will go to break. When we get back, Rudy will hop in. We'll talk some NBA draft. Who's your pick for number 1 overall? Take a look at the first round of the NBA draft coming up here in just a few days. I do want Rudy's offseason plan for his beloved San Antonio Spurs. We'll give you an update on Team USA in the World Cup before we talk some college hoops and some Major League Baseball to round out the show. Don't go anywhere. 4 o'clock hour of Old School's on the other side.
You're listening to Old School with Jay Foreman and Austin Orman. Download the mobile app and listen wherever you are on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Imagine starting your day with a computer glitch that leaves you feeling stuck, frustrated, and unable to get your work done. You have 1,000,001 things to get done today, and waiting for the tech issue to solve itself isn't one of them. It's time to let Hamilton handle the tech so you don't have to. We help businesses across the state spend more time on what they do best and less time frustrated with office technology. As the official business IT partner of the Huskers, we're focused on providing custom solutions that set you up for success now and in the future. Connect with us today at hamiltonisbusiness.com.
Big value and big flavor meet at Wings and Rings thanks to the all-new delicious Duo Combo. This is the one you've been waiting for. Get 1 half-sized appetizer and 2 entrees with a side for only $19.99. Bring a friend for the best deal in town on any day of the week, during game time, or whenever the heck you want. Their made-to-order wings and chicken sandwiches are waiting for you at their 68th and O and 40th and Old Cheney locations. Stop by Wings and Rings and celebrate every day with the best meal deal in town.
At Parkview Animal Hospital in Lincoln, it's not just their professional care that sets them apart, but their warm staff and state-of-the-art facilities. Whether it's for a routine checkup or a comprehensive medical procedure, at Parkview, your pet isn't just another number, but a valued member of their caring family. Visit them at pahlincoln.com today and in person just south of 14th and Pine Lake Road. Parkview Animal Hospital, your pet, our passion. For happier, healthier, furry friends.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet. KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
When you were a kid, clubs were cool. Robotics club and space club and stuff like that. But what do adults get? Book clubs, quilting clubs? Nah, forget that. How about margarita clubs and old-fashioned clubs? Get to Upside Bar and Lounge for the best clubs in town. Try all 10 varieties of Upside's margaritas and old fashions and take home a free souvenir glass. Grab the whole crew and pair it with taco night on Mondays or whiskey Wednesdays. Upside Bar and Lounge at 29th and Pine Lake.
You started your business to build something special. Now it's time to grow and protect it. At Pinnacle Bank, our treasury management services help you do just that. Through smarter payment technology, account administration, and fraud protection. So no matter the size of your business, you can get the most out of your financial operations. Request your free consultation at pinbank.com/consult. Pinnacle Bank, the way banking should be. Member FDIC.
In every office, there's 2 types of people. There are those who bring in bagels and those who eat the bagels that someone else brought in. Everybody likes the first person. Be that first person. Weekday mornings at 7:30, you have a chance to win a business box of bagels from Bagels & Joe. All you have to do is shut up, Sipple. 2 questions for you, 2 for Sip. Win, and the bagels are yours. Lose, well, you don't want to lose.
You lost Monday, you lost Wednesday, you're a loser.
Shut up, Sipple. Weekday mornings at 7:30, brought to you by Bagels & Joe.
Building a new home can be a challenge, a lot of big choices. With our Remington homes, we have designed 15 different floor plans that appeal to a wide range of people.
Bob Benish of Aspen Builders, talking about Remington Homes, which makes the home building process easier
People really enjoy being able to go to our website, which is remingtonlincoln.com, pick a plan, pick a price point, go through and build it yourself. You have a lot of options, whether you want granite, painted trim, wood floors, more stone, all options with our Remington homes. People do not want to be married to their house payment. You're able to get what you really want in a home for a great price with very limited stress. And that's what Remington homes are all about.
Home building is easier with a Remington home from Aspen Builders at 423-6811. Online at remingtonlincoln.com. remingtonlincoln.com.
At DWE Generations, having a plan matters, especially when it comes to protecting what's most important. They work with individuals, families, and business owners to help make smart financial decisions that support life today and set the foundation for generations. David Darlington, Russell Walton, and Cody Eiler bring decades of experience, and their dedicated team provides follow-through, answering questions, explaining next steps, and staying connected as life evolves. DWE Generations, a generational wealth planning firm. DWE Generations is a marketing name for individuals doing business as representatives of Northwestern Mutual. Visit generations.nm.com or call 402-483-7871 and ask for David, Russell, or Cody.
Hey, Nebraska sports fans. This summer, professional tennis returns to Lincoln. Watch rising stars of the ATP Tour compete for over $100,000 in prize money for the 2026 Lincoln Challenger from July 12th to the 19th at the Sid and Hazel Dillon Tennis Center. Witness top tennis pros compete right here in Lincoln and experience tennis close-up like never before. To purchase tickets or to sign up for volunteer opportunities, please visit www.lincolnchallenger.com. Not just a stop, a stage. Lincoln Challenger 2026.
If you're seeking a career with a growing company, Gaina Trucking and Excavating is hiring and looking for additions to their team. Gaina Trucking has a strong team culture, competitive pay, 401ks, and benefits like health, dental, and vision. Drivers are guaranteed 40 hours per week, even in the winter months, and are home every night. Start your career today at Gaina Trucking and Excavating. Apply today at gainatrucking.com.
Coming at you live from the heart of downtown Lincoln, this is Old School with Foreman and Orman. Nebraska Football Hall of Famer Jay Foreman.
Here's Troy Detmer dropping straight back in the pocket. Rifles a pass. It was tipped. It's picked off by Foreman. He's at the 15, 10, 5. He'll score! Foreman got it, and it's touchdown Huskers.
Black shirts, answer the call one more time.
And Austin Orman. Old School with Foreman and Orman is sponsored by Graham Tire Company of Lincoln, your tire store next door with 4 Lincoln locations. Old School with Foreman and Orman on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
That's right. Welcome in. It is Old School, 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Austin Orman with you. Another couple hours to go here on the show. Rudy's handling some business. He'll be along in just a minute to talk some NBA draft coming up in just a few days. Would love your opinion. 402-464-5685. Who would you take number 1 overall in this year's NBA draft? We've talked about a few of the players, a bunch of the players, but I really want to dig into this with Rudy. Whether you're the Washington Wizards or are the Wizards in position to pull what the Boston Celtics did about a decade ago, and trading back to number 3 in the draft, letting Markelle Fultz and Lonzo Ball be selected before the Celtics ended up with, to this point, the best player in that draft in Duke's Jason Tatum. Are the Wizards in a position to do that? Will they pick at number 1 overall? Who is the pick for them? And who would you go with? 402-464-5685. Let us know on our Starter Heyman Jewelers text line. Don't forget, this is Old School, brought to you by Graham Tire Company. They're celebrating 75 years of serving the Midwest. More than just cut tires, they do all kinds of car and light truck repairs too. From brakes to oil changes, trust Graham Tire for service you can count on. Graham Tire, getting you to the places that matter most. With the number 1 overall pick in the draft this year, it is the Washington Wizards, who haven't said they're not trading the number 1 overall pick. I think they would be hard-pressed to trade that pick even for a bounty, but it might be a year to do it. A year in which it seems like, according to most talent evaluators, there is a pretty clear-cut top 3. The name that most people have been mocking to Washington is A.J. Debonsa, a guy that Husker fans, some of you got to see up close and personal during Nebraska's exhibition with BYU before the 25-26 basketball season. Of course, Nebraska wins that exhibition game and a couple games in the NCAA tournament, more so than Devonta did with BYU. But that's been the most likely number one overall pick, according to insiders, according to mock drafters, and the betting markets as well. And the case for Devonta is that he's the most natural, most polished scorer in the class. His basketball idol is Kevin Durant, which is a big deal because Devonta ended up going to play for Kevin Young at BYU, a guy who had coached Kevin Durant in the NBA. And you can see shades of that, I would say. But Devonta and Durant are just such different players, right? Devonta measured at the 6'8.5" with a 7-foot wingspan at 220 pounds, pretty rocked up. Whereas we know KD is the Slim Reaper, right? A little knock-kneed sometimes with the form on his jump shot, but has played center defensively at times dating back to his Golden State days. He'll tell you he's not a 7-footer, but KD's got a few inches of height on AJ Devonta. Devonta, can apply pressure to the rim. He's a jump out of the gym caliber of athlete. Decent enough three-point shooter. On 150 attempts, he only knocked down about a third of them. But he's really worked to improve that since his high school days. And so I think there's a world in which AJ Devonta is at least an average shooter. I think that can come along. Now, the question is, how will it come along for AJ Devonta, who had the ball in his hands a bunch for BYU? Even a team that was able to add Rob Wright III to the roster out of the transfer portal out of Baylor. Obviously, Richie Saunders goes down with a knee injury for BYU. I don't know if I see Kevin Durant in AJ Devonta nearly as much as I do maybe like a Tracy McGrady potentially is more the name that comes to mind for me. AJ Devonta, as we welcome Rudy in, does seem to fit a little bit more with what the Wizards want to do right now. Now, Trae Young opts out of his contract and will hit the free market, could still sign and trade. But with Anthony Davis, Alex Sarr, Trey Johnson, Bilal Coulibaly in there as well, seems like there's a pretty seamless fit for AJ Devonta to step in as the small forward of the future, Rudy. But I'm not sure anyone on that Wizards roster is good enough, to say that we're just taking AJ Devonta because of the fit with this current group necessarily.
Yeah, I think he's someone that you got to hopefully build around, especially, like you're saying, they got some decent pieces there. Anthony Davis is there, and then the whole Trae Young debacle. But I think they're at a point, too, where kind of similar to, like you mentioned, my beloved Spurs. Like, you kind of do need that superstar to build around, at least get the foundation set. And I think that hopefully would be the plan. I don't see why it wouldn't. I understand, like, the conversations around all that. But I like him. I think he reminds me a little bit of a talented, not more talented, but a little more maybe prospective Paul George out of college is where I'd have him right now. I like that comp there. But yeah, I mean, I'm a fan of his. I think he's elite. I think the size and the scoring ability is awesome to watch. So, I mean, it's just he's going to the Wizards more than likely, and that's just, I don't know how I feel about that overall is all.
Yeah, no, I think you're not necessarily alone in that. The other guy that's been mocked most consistently to Washington, if it's not going to be AJ Devonta, it's going to be most likely Darren Peterson, who played 24 games is all at Kansas, averaged 24 and then an assist and a half per game to go with an assist or a turnover and a half per game. Darren Peterson is one of the more fascinating prospect evaluations probably in the last decade for NBA scouts when it comes to these guys that seem like they're in a tier to themselves. I would put him maybe in that Zion Williamson tier. What do you do with this guy? I mean, Zion Williamson was a one-of-one physical specimen that when he's been healthy has dominated in the NBA, hasn't been healthy that much. Darren Peterson, same sort of thing at Kansas. When he was healthy, he played pretty well in a Kansas environment that wasn't necessarily tailored to him. It wasn't, 4 out and let's let Darren Peterson drive with a big man, right? There's some other talent like Flory Badunga comes to mind. Bryson Tiller comes to mind with a guy with some pedigree as well. Darren Peterson seemed to be the instrument that entire orchestra was combined around. He was really in and out of the lineup, played more toward the end of the year. To me, he's almost an inverse Anthony Edwards, where the things that really popped for Anthony Edwards at Georgia were the athleticism and the driving ability. Peterson had some of that in high school, but what Peterson was able to show was actually the shooting ability. That's a guy that shot 38% from three on 160 plus attempts in those 24 games. Hit some absolutely ridiculous ones. I think Texas Tech was the game I was watching where he came up big late in the end that really pops out to me. And that's a guy that had the athleticism, that certainly has the pedigree going back to high school, didn't show it in college. It sounds like people are not as worried behind the scenes about the amount of games played and maybe the creatine workout. Why is he in games and out of game stuff as, those of us on the outside. I thought coming into the year, Darren Peterson was going to be the number 1 overall draft pick as kind of a true shooting guard, but some of the health concerns and the team context concerns, the guy that averaged only an assist and a half per game and the same number of turnovers per game, not necessarily something that gets cleaned up without a doubt in the NBA.
Yeah, it's one of those things that maybe gets more magnified too once you get there. But I like him though. I think, like you're saying in the Anthony Edwards kind of talk on that, but I feel like when you're watching him play, it's not anything that stands out insanely, and that's not a bad thing either. But I think it's like he's one of those things you look up and it's the second end of the second half. It's like, okay, he's got 20 something points now, and it seems very efficient the way he goes about his business, and I like. And I know those the out of halves and not playing certain games or whatever it may be, those talks will be there, and that was not a red flag for me either. But I think I had a lot of the same questions a lot of media had too, and at least following those stories. And hopefully that is something that's not going to be an issue, because if it does translate, that follows over, I don't know, because now you're playing grown men for 4 quarters. It'll be interesting. But yeah, I mean, I like his scoring ability is elite. I think he's going to be great. I agree. I think coming into the season he was that number 1. But I mean, it's always good to have a debate on that, and always good to have maybe more than one option there. So it'll be interesting. I like the way he plays though a lot.
The other guy that's in some conversations down the line for number 1 overall pick would be Cameron Boozer, is the name that you pretty often hear. It's a top 3 for this draft. And Augie, we'll get to your text, because let's not get too far ahead of ourselves there, my friend. Cam Boozer, by far the most productive of those guys, averaged a double per game with 4 assists, 22, 10, and 4 per game. Shot nearly 40% from 3 on 100-some attempts, 80-ish% free throw shooter on just shy of 300 attempts. Good catch and shoot 3-point guy. Cam Boozer did it all for Duke offensively. He was the beginning and the middle and the end of so many possessions for them. The winning pedigree going back to Chris Columbus High School down there in Miami. The question for him is the athleticism a limiter on him? Having watched my fair share of Cam Boozer, I think there are cases where that's overblown. Cam can still get up and still dunk on people. He's not necessarily slow. Now, a little heavy-footed on the perimeter sometimes in the half court. He put on a lot of weight from high school to college, where he weighed in at 250 pounds. But again, you can go back, and Cam Boozer was dunking on some people, but then you can't, if you're an evaluator, let the Virginia film go from the ACC championship game where Ugonna Onyenso was swatting a lot. And so I think there's a pretty high floor for Cameron Boozer, but with that number 1 overall pick, especially when you look at guys like DeBonsa and Peterson, are you going for guys that you think might have higher upside, or are we down on Cam Boozer's upside because of some perceived athleticism limitations? Are they perceived or are they real? I think Cam Boozer has, the pedigree. He has the awards to go with it from both high school and college. Measured in at 6'8" and a quarter, 7'1" and a half with the wingspan, and again 250 pounds. He's not a 5. He's probably a 4, but what that means in the modern NBA is his fair share of time on the perimeter, where he was good on offense and not so much on defense.
Yeah, as weird as, not even weird, I think he's probably the safest pick out of the 3 in terms of, like you're saying, the highest floor, and that's going back to if it is like the Wizards will be taking that. I just don't think that's going to be what they need right now. Again, you got Anthony Davis for as many games as they'll give you and all that, but I like him. I don't know though, because you kind of, like you're saying with that first pick, I don't know what the route is entirely for every organization, but I'd be more of in favor of going after the higher ceiling, not just the lower floor. And I think, again, it goes back to AJ for me on that. I'm just a AJ fan here, but no, I mean,
you weren't in for much of the discussion. What do you like? What do you like most about DeBonsa and his game?
I think the size, just the 6'9", right? Is that what he's listed as right now? Yeah.
Officially from the combine, it was 6'8" and a half.
Okay.
So
yeah, if I was a half, I'd round it up too. But now 6'8" and a half, either way, regardless, that's like you're saying, you can't put him in that KD category, and I'm not either. But the height mixed with the skill, and I like the way he plays a lot too. I think he's a fun guy to watch. I think off the court it doesn't matter too much sometimes, obviously, but I think the way he carries himself too, like kids coming out of college and high school now are getting so much better at like being PR trained. I think that goes a long way for me sometimes. So I like the way he plays, but I like the way he carries himself too. but I think your safest pick is going to be Boozer, and I just don't know if that's what the number one pick is looking for right now if you're the Washington Wizards.
Yeah, no, I think that's completely fair. I will go back to, I'm not sure the Wizards need to be drafting for fit right now with this core. I think, for them being at number one with best available, that works. But I also think they're in a pretty enviable position where if they can envision themselves with any of those top three guys, maybe Memphis has its eyes locked in on one of those guys, or maybe Utah has its eyes locked in on one of those guys. And so just to move back one or two spots, similar to what Boston did in that Tatum draft, maybe there is a trade to be made for Washington, who I think is still in that talent acquisition phase and asset acquisition phase, to be fair. If you can tease out a future first to trade back a couple spots, if you can tease out an extra second or a useful player along with a pick swap in there as well, to me, that's worth it for Washington. Let's go ahead and get to this from Augie, our resident Tar Heel on the text line. Take Caleb. AJ is just okay. Kansas boy is too fragile, and Caleb is an all caps Tar Heel. Now, Caleb Wilson had injury concerns as well, right? This is a guy that broke his thumb dunking, which is a weird injury. Hadn't really been banged up before that, but that's kind of a weird fluke injury that's there to monitor. Of that entire group of three that we mentioned, you add Wilson to it. If he's the fourth, he's the oldest, by about 5-ish months or so. He's a full calendar year to the day older than Cam Boozer is, with a less developed skill profile. I think that the comps I've heard that I like for those two guys is, if Cam Boozer is Kevin Love with upside, you hope that Caleb Wilson develops into Pascal Siakam. And I think Wilson is probably better, at the rim defensively than Siakam, but also falls asleep off ball. I still probably take Pascal Siakam in a team concept. Siakam learned to shoot a little bit more. Wilson was sub 30% from three and on low volume. Not a great free throw shooter, not a terrible free throw shooter. Probably the best raw athlete in that class. Wasn't great at finishing at the rim either, only 62% in finishing at the rim for a guy that right now doesn't have much in the way of perimeter skills. But I get it, right? Caleb Wilson took over that first Duke game in Chapel Hill. Carolina was clearly a different team with him sidelined than they were with it. He's been productive. I understand why, Augie, you're going to bat for your guy, but if I'm Washington, I don't think I want to trade back to number 4. To me, there are just too many questions about Caleb Wilson in terms of, does this guy, know how to play basketball? Is he able to operate on the perimeter, or does he have to be the one non-shooter in one of these lineups? Is he good enough defensively to be the one non-shooter in a lineup? Is he big enough to hold up like that? I'm not nearly as convinced on that.
Yeah, I think looking at some of the, like you said, the shooting from three is obviously not going to stand out. None of those numbers. So, I mean, I'm not too familiar with Caleb Wilson just in my time of watching college basketball this year. It's been all over the place. But looking at some of the stats here, I agree. I think it's nothing that's going to make you not want to take the other guys first either. And not to knock anybody at all. I understand our listeners are going to bat for their guys like I do. So I understand that as well. But
do you want to go to bat for Dalen Swain at all?
No.
No? Why
No.
not?
I'm
Not Dalen Swain guy?
No, there's not. I don't know. I didn't get too much vibes that I wanted this year from what I expected. I'm not happy with a lot of those guys. So we'll leave it at that. But no, I mean, I'm going to try to keep looking at stats here. But again, some of the things that ESPN's listing here is obviously that some of the shooting's inconsistent. If that's the issue there, I think that's a big, not issue, but one that when you're taking that number 1 pick, you kind of hope that there's a little more consistency there. And obviously these guys are young. These guys are going to develop. That's not the end all be all, but there's some things when they're coming in, it's like, okay, you can live with some of the size things. You can live with some of the defense that should get there. The turnovers can always fix, but I want guys who can shoot the ball a little more consistently is all. But yeah, it's 25. It has 25.9% from three. I'm not huge on that, at least stat being out there.
Yeah, no, I'm not either for a guy that doesn't need to be dependent on the three ball, but I think probably has to get to low 30s, I think, to be able to survive and thrive in the role he's going to be asked to play at the next level. I think if you combine Dalen Swain with Caleb Wilson, you end up with AJ DeBonsa, which to me is just such a compliment to a guy like DeBonsa for what he is right now on the offensive end. And I think what he has the potential to be on defense, but that's where, you look at all three of those guys at the top of the draft, even Wilson, if you want to throw him in there, all 4 of those guys have some questions about ball watching. Can they be consistently impactful defenders? I think if you look at just the raw tools, you probably lean toward DeBonsa or Wilson. I think Boozer probably showed the most proclivity on defense in the team concept with his hands and being able to slide his feet. Wilson was probably better on ball than Cam Boozer was, and probably the best of that group. And so that's where I think team fit is probably a little bit bigger of a deal for a guy like Caleb Wilson, just because he has such a specific skill set for right now. And that's not saying that's what he's going to be forever, but plain and simple, that's what he is right now. And this is a guy that you're coming in as the number 4 overall pick. You're going to be asked to impact winning in some way. You know, if you go to Chicago right now at number 4, that's maybe, not a spot that's looking to, improve all the way to first round home court advantage or anything necessarily. But I think that there's an interesting young core there in Chicago for Caleb Wilson. I think that Memphis, if they're able to combine Cam Boozer with Zach Edey, that's pretty interesting. Or if you're Utah, you have Cam Boozer at the 4, Jaren Jackson at the 5, able to cover each other's weaknesses pretty well. And then, okay, Walker Kessler, you're not going to sign your contract. We can live without you because we do that. Or, does Utah go for the Donovan Mitchell replacement that they've been looking for in Darren Peterson? Now, Peterson's a little bigger, I believe, across the board than Spida Mitchell is. But Utah still needs a headliner. Lauri Markkanen is great. He can't be a number 1 necessarily for a playoff team. I think that the Darren Peterson could if everything breaks right. But you didn't have the same questions about Anthony Edwards as you did to Darren Peterson, I think, specifically for that context. Now, that Georgia team was not great. Anthony Edwards was driving into crowds, kind of like Darren Peterson was. Let's hit our Sartor Hamann Jewelers text line. D-Man wants to know, are there any overseas guys that might go in the top 5? I haven't heard much of that this year. No, not necessarily international guys in the top 5 this year. Looking at the way the big boards break out, probably the closest thing you have to an international guy is Adai Mara, but even he spent 2 years in the college system here stateside, first at UCLA and then at Michigan. Hannes Steinbach at Washington came overseas from Germany for a year. Yaxel Lendeborg is not an American national by birth, but he's been in the American college system for a handful of years. The first international guy that really comes up as you scroll through the draft board is Sergio De La Rey. He's a Spanish point guard, kind of Hugo Gonzalez-ish for your Celtics fans out there. Kareem Lopez, who's playing in the NBL down in New Zealand, is probably the next guy. And then after that, you have to scroll even a little bit further until you get to the next, true international guy. And I'm not even seeing him really pop up at this point. You'll get some guys drafted from the international ranks, probably early, mid, second round, just as draft and stash kind of throwaway picks. You have to take it, couldn't trade it. You don't have room for you on our roster. So just go ahead and play overseas. But yeah, no, there's not nearly as much international flavor at the top of this year's draft like you've had with Reese Shea, with Sarr, and I think primarily with Victor Wembanyama. And that is where we will transition, because Rudy, I want your offseason plan for the Spurs. NBA runners-up. What does the offseason look like to you in the best version of it for the San Antonio Spurs? We'll get to that as we continue Old School.
Watch Old School live on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. Old School with Foreman and Orman on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Get rid of pesky critters once and for all with Bats to Rats. Their expert team is here to help you reclaim your home. No more sleepless nights caused by crawling critters or flapping wings. Bats to Rats ensures a safe environment for every family member. Check the website at batstoRats.com for amazing offers, and if you mention this ad, you'll receive $10 off your initial inspection cost. Call Bats to Rats today at 402-781-8691. That's 402-781-8691. Bats to Rats.
Building a new home can be a challenge. A lot of big choices. With our Remington homes, we have designed 15 different floor plans that appeal to a wide range of people.
Bob Benish of Aspen Builders, talking about Remington Homes, which makes the home building process easier.
People really enjoy being able to go to our website, which is remingtonlincoln.com, pick a plan, pick a price point, go through and build it yourself. You have a lot of options, whether you want granite, painted trim, wood floors, more stone, all options with our Remington homes. People do not want to be married to their house payment. You're able to get what you really want in a home for a great price with very limited stress. And that's what Remington Homes are all about.
Home building is easier with a Remington home from Aspen Builders at 423-6811. Online at remingtonlincoln.com. remingtonlincoln.com.
Hey, Nebraska sports fans. This summer, professional tennis returns to Lincoln. Watch rising stars of the ATP Tour compete for over $100,000 in prize money for the 2026 Lincoln Challenger from July 12th to the 19th at the Sid and Hazel Dillon Tennis Center. Witness top tennis pros compete right here in Lincoln and experience tennis close-up like never before. To purchase tickets or to sign up for volunteer opportunities, please visit www.lincolnchallenger.com. Not just a stop, a stage. Lincoln Challenger 2026.
Here's your updated 93.7 The Ticket forecast, sponsored by John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, AC, and Electrical. A flood watch begins at 7 p.m. tomorrow night and remains in effect until 7 a.m. Sunday. More clouds than sun this afternoon with a chance for storms. High of 84. Winds out of the north 8 to 15 miles per hour. That's your updated forecast on Lincoln's home for the Kansas City Royals. 93.7 The Ticket. I'm meteorologist Kara Foster. Currently 74.
At DWE Generations, having a plan matters, especially when it comes to protecting what's most important. They work with individuals, families, and business owners to help make smart financial decisions that support life today and set the foundation for generations. David Darlington, Russell Walton, and Cody Eiler bring decades of experience, and their dedicated team provides follow-through, answering questions, explaining next steps, and staying connected as life evolves. DWE Generations, a generational wealth planning firm. DWE Generations is a marketing name for individuals doing business as representatives of Northwestern Mutual. Visit generations.nm.com or call 402-483-7871 and ask for David, Russell, or Cody.
Imagine starting your day with a computer glitch that leaves you feeling stuck, frustrated, and unable to get your work done. You have 1,000,001 things to get done today, and waiting for the tech issue to solve itself isn't one of them. It's time to let Hamilton handle the tech so you don't have to. We help businesses across the state spend more time on what they do best and less time frustrated with office technology. As the official business IT partner of the Huskers, we're focused on providing custom solutions that set you up for success now and in the future. Connect with us today at hamiltonisbusiness.com.
At Parkview Animal Hospital in Lincoln, it's not just their professional care that sets them apart, but their warm staff and state-of-the-art facilities. Whether it's for a routine checkup or a comprehensive medical procedure, at Parkview, your pet isn't just another number, but a valued member of their caring family. Visit them at PAHLincoln.com today and in person just south of 14th and Pine Lake Road. Parkview Animal Hospital, your pet, our passion. For happier, healthier, furry friends.
If you're seeking a career with a growing company, Gaina Trucking and Excavating is hiring and looking for additions to their team. Gaina Trucking has a strong team culture, competitive pay, 401ks, and benefits like health, dental, and vision. Drivers are guaranteed 40 hours per week, even in the winter months, and are home every night. Start your career today at Gaina Trucking and Excavating. Apply today at gainatrucking.com.
The crack of the bat. Sizzling concessions. Yeah, that's the sound of summer at Haymarket Park. It's been that way for 25 seasons. And in this city, it's not a matter of if you'll catch a game, it's how many. Safe. That's because there's always something in play for Salt Dogs fans. From saluting our troops to Friday night fireworks, your local tradition plays on. Let's show summer how Lincoln celebrates 25 seasons. Get your tickets at saltdogs.com.
Select Plumbing and Utility has been serving Lincoln and the surrounding area for 14 years, and they're not slowing down. Select Plumbing and Utility handles all your plumbing needs from faucets and water heaters to full renovations, and they can even help with your heating and cooling needs. They're also Lincoln's underground experts, repairing and replacing broken underground water and sewer lines since day one. Contact Select Plumbing and Utility today at 402-560-6197, assuring excellence in every situation, opportunity, and challenge. That's 402-560-6197.
In every office, there's two types of people. There are those who bring in bagels and those who eat the bagels that someone else brought in. Everybody likes the first person. Be that first person. Weekday mornings at 7:30, you have a chance to win a business box of bagels from Bagels & Joe. All you have to do is shut up, Sipple. 2 questions for you, 2 for Sip. Win and the bagels are yours. Lose, well, you don't want to lose.
You lost Monday, you lost Wednesday, you're a loser.
Shut up, Sipple. Weekday mornings at 7:30, brought to you by Bagels & Joe. Back to old school with Foreman and Orman on 93.7 The Ticket.
That's right. Welcome back in. It is Old School. Austin Orman, Rudy Gress with you here. Old School, the segment brought to you by the good folks at Schwezo Construction, where safety isn't just a policy, it's a promise. Schwezo is hiring skilled craftsmen, laborers, concrete workers, and steel erectors who value quality work and a team that has your back both on and off the job site. Apply today at Schwezo.com. 40-plus years strong in business. Schwezo Construction. All right, Rudy, speaking of construction, how are you constructing the San Antonio Spurs offseason after an NBA runner-up appearance this last season?
Yeah, I think if you would have asked me this maybe last week, I probably would have said we got to get rid of De'Aaron Fox, got to get rid of Coach Johnson, all of this. And I think after I've had some time to reflect, I think maybe let's not get rid of De'Aaron Fox. I think you got to keep him. You got to keep as much of the core as possible. So I think that's going to be good. I think, again, they were one of the younger finals teams that have been there, at least in recent years. So I'm excited for that. I think the biggest thing that I noticed, and I think a lot of Spurs fans and just NBA fans, I'm sure, during the finals was every time Wemby wasn't on that court, the Spurs were just an entirely different team, and that identity went away. So I think the biggest thing that I'm hopeful of is either getting a good role big man or at least a four that can just be your shooter also, but then have some more defensive presence. Because Wemby's great, Wemby's tall, but that size is kind of what shut him down in the finals. I think you had Mitchell Robinson in there, obviously Cat. Like, these are guys that are going to play physical, and not that Wemby can't, but to a certain extent, he can't be the biggest dude because then a lot of his shooting would go away, like we've seen with other guys. And I think if you can get someone to kind of counteract that, I think that's where you kind of go. I think a lot of people online and the Spurs Twitter forums I'm in, a lot of people are liking like Naz Reid pickups here and there, and I wouldn't hate that at all. I like Naz Reid, but I don't know. Like, I like Mitchell Robinson. I know he's going to be a free agent this offseason. So, I mean, maybe you get that. And then I think the spacing would look a little different with having an actual big man who can play defense in there. But it's also what they might need. Because I think for the majority of it, they're running the four guards and Wemby, which is great. But when you can't make a shot and then you're getting beat on the inside because Wemby's on the outside now, it's just there was a good plan. And I liked everything that the team did this year. I mean, again, if you would have told me at the start of the season we'll be in the finals, I wouldn't have had any complaints. And I still don't. But you gotta get some Wemby help in there, or at least because like Luke Cornett, big fan of him. He's a Spurs folk legend down there right now. Yeah, exactly. Yep. They call him the big elote, which just means the big corn, and so it's awesome. Like we love him down there. But again, when he was on that court, it just wasn't. Aside from that Game 7 Thunder block, it wasn't anything that we enjoyed, and I think that came to fruition there a couple times, and he was just getting beat. And it is what it is. I know he plays
play Biyombo or Plum.
Yeah.
Neither one of them could touch the court.
No. Yeah. So, I mean, I think you just need to get some more big help. I think the guards were kind of set on that because, again, you look at it here, you still got, obviously, Wemby will be down there. You got Harper, you got Castle. Harper, I'm so big on. I know a lot of people are still expecting him to come off the bench next year, obviously, if we were to keep Fox, and that's fine. But I'm very big on that guy. He's only 19 going on 20 now, so it'll be awesome. Again, the draft is going to be a big thing. Obviously, the Giannis talks are up there, and I know the Spurs aren't directly in those talks right now, but they're still going to be talking regardless about making like a package deal for him. I think the biggest thing is probably to avoid that for the Spurs. Kind of just get the guys who need to, like we were talking about the draft, kind of. Like, they're in a position where you don't need anything revolutionary right now. You need someone to step up, basically be the Aaron Gordon for your team from the Nuggets that year. Like, you need someone that can come off, do some role player-like things. I mean, we saw it from Caruso the entire series. Like, you need a guy like that. And I don't know what that exactly looks like. Again, I'm big on potentially going after Mitchell Robinson. I think that'd be a good pickup, but it'll be interesting because they're at such a weird spot. It's not like they're like everything that's going to be good now is going to be coming in the future with the, like I'm saying, the age. It's Coach Johnson's first full year as the head coach. And I mean, get to the finals pretty, not easily at all, but very confidently in him. And I had no doubts in him at all, but there are some coaching decisions and he's young. So, I mean, I think it's going to be a lot more growing, but again, you got to get a big in there. You got to hopefully capitalize on some picks that whether you're going to stash them like you're saying and have them develop, you'll be fine because the Spurs are known for obviously being pretty decent when it comes to these drafting things, whether that's rigged or not. But
of course, it's not rigged.
Of course not. Yeah.
Integrity wins.
Yes, all the time. But I mean, if also at the same time, I'll go back to my first point. If you can get a good deal for Fox and maybe a pick, I'd be cool with getting rid of him right now. Again, he's left a bad taste in a lot of fans' mouths. So, I mean, that probably is what weighs that. But again, you're going to have Harper, who is going to be taking over that spot at some point. It's just a matter of when, not if. So I think you need the shooting. I think we're fine. I think guys have to realize that they're not the shooters on the team was what I noticed the most. Like Castle, great player, but you shouldn't be taking every three-pointer that's in your way. And I think Champagnie did a great job of being that shooter for us. So, I mean, if you can maybe get a guard that isn't just 3-and-D like Champagne. You maybe get somebody else in there. I think that'd be great too. But rebounding is going to be big. I mean, for again, the Wemby, you see him out there, you see everything he's doing, but there's so many offensive rebounds that are going to other teams. And it makes no sense for as hard as offensive rebounds should be. I mean, they closed out game 5,
3.
yeah. One of the games, I think it was game 5 actually. The missed free
Robinson
throw,
one?
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
It's
sorry,
like
for the Knicks.
it's like you got Wemby out there again. I'm not saying he's able to get everyone, but the rebounding's an issue for a team that has the tallest alien in the world somehow. So I mean, you got to build on that, and then again, I think you just need a real power forward in there. The four guards in Wemby, it's a great idea, but when you start facing teams who are more talented, like the Thunder, like the Knicks, and the biggest games of the year, you can kind of see that they're able to play that a little better. And I think that was the biggest thing that kind of wore them down the most. And then, I mean, we saw it when they're able to not make threes and they're living on the three. It's a horrible, ugly sight to watch. And you got to get a power forward, got to get more rebounding. I think that you're only a couple pieces away from being right back to where you're at. It's not going to be easy, but I think they've built enough to where, like that, you're just one piece away, one role player away from being right back, hopefully. At least at worst, I'm thinking Western Conference Finals again, but we'll see.
So my middle brother, younger, not youngest brother, is a Spurs fan as well. And so I've been having some of these conversations with him. And right now, I am taking probably the biggest victory lap with him than I ever have, like, in my entire life, because I told him after last year's NBA draft, Dylan Harper at number 2 is going to be great. Now, he's a Duke fan like I am. He was, so you didn't get Cooper Flag. We've all the way up to number 2, just one spot higher. Could have paired Cooper Flag and Victor Wembanyama, and even my mouth watered a little bit with that possibility.
Oh, yeah.
But I told him, hey, you're going to take Dylan Harper at number 2. It's going to be worth it. Kid's going to be a stud. Don't worry about the Rutgers stuff necessarily. It was proven right. The other guy that he wasn't sold on was their next pick, Carter Bryant. To me, Carter Bryant is in that Aaron Gordon mold, can play above the rim as a multi-positional defender, except I think he's getting a better education in, the NBA life and what his role is going to be by not having to be Aaron Gordon on the Magic. Yep. Aaron Gordon was so miscast as a first option, and maybe Aaron Gordon, both guys coming out of Arizona, funny enough, University of Arizona. Aaron Gordon showed more of that in college than Carter Bryant did. But I think Bryant is ready-made to play some 3, to play up to some 4 with positional size and athleticism. I think those two guys can absolutely grow. I'm with you on the Fox thing. I think they end up keeping him around.
Yeah.
Because the explanation is going to be, well, we don't beat the Thunder without him, which is probably fair. I mean, you can't be averaging, 8.5 turnovers per game against the Thunder if you're Stephon Castle. Yeah. Clearly not a point guard yet. I don't think Harper's ready to run the show. I think the Spurs do still need an organizer of some sort out there, which is De'Aaron Fox's value to them. 3 shaky shooters isn't exactly how you want to live. The Giannis trade idea intrigues me. I'll get back to that in a second. But the other trade idea I saw, I'll run this past you first. This is from Sam Quinn, who writes for CBS. My favorite De'Aaron Fox trade, assuming Miami doesn't land Giannis, is De'Aaron Fox to Miami for Tyler Hero and Nikola Jovic. The Heat have been a stealth player for Ja Morant as a backup plan to Giannis Antetokounmpo. Sam Quinn's logic is this. Heat get Bam's college teammate. They upgrade at point guard and get someone who fits with Norm Powell. They get better without sacrificing Khalil Ware, their picks, or future flexibility. Spurs get off the Fox contract before it comes unmovable, turn one of their 3 guards into a great shooter, which was an area of need for them anyways. Wemby's the one big in the NBA who could protect Hero defensively in the playoffs, and Hero lives out his destiny as an overqualified 6-man. The Spurs need another ball handler behind Castle and Harper. They just can't pay him the max. If you can extend Hero at a reasonable price, it's an awesome fit. I think that overqualified 6th-man part stands out to me as well, because big body, Keldon Johnson, absolutely unplayable. I'm not saying he wasn't a deserving 6th man of the year. He did not give the Spurs anything against the Knicks in the finals. And I'm generally fine with Keldon Johnson. Appreciate him and the journey that he's been on. And I think Dylan Harper could probably stand to read his article from the Players Tribune that he wrote a couple months ago. But I think the Spurs can't afford to get nothing out of 3 backup centers in Olynyk, Plumlee, and Biyombo, and be a negative with Cornette on the floor. That's a big area of improvement for them. Your 6th man of the year has to show up. And I know Fox was injured, but they had to play him. They needed that organizer. It didn't work, so maybe pressing and smashing and spamming the Dylan Harper button was the way to go. I just think it's going to be tough to trade De'Aaron Fox, and I think he does still have some value to the Spurs if he's able to stay healthy.
Yeah, I agree. I think too going back to the age thing, not against it, but like we heard all finals, they're learning as they're playing in these finals. It's their first time for the most part. I think all of them except for a couple on the bench.
Well, Fox had only played one playoff series in his life with Sacramento.
That's the thing, like the veteran experience they were talking about. Like I understand he's been in the league longer, but at the same time, like they were all going through it together, and that's great and everything. But like I would expect our veteran leader that everyone's kind of not hyping up, but at least using that point so much with Fox, like in the finals, to step up. And I think I'm not saying that we should get rid of him simply because he had a bad finals, but I think it's not like if it's not going to happen, then I don't know. I don't want to sound like a hater at all, but it's like at the same time, I want my guys to step up when it matters the most. And obviously, guys are allowed to have bad games, but some of those were just some of those stretches he went on in some of these games, multiple stretches. It was just extremely hard to watch. And I think, like you're saying, before that contract gets like unmovable is the tough part, because you don't want to move off of him too quick, because again, it was one bad series at the end of the day. But at the same time, if it pans out again, or if the injury has to happen again with that ankle that he got, it's just, I don't know. It's a tough spot to be in for there too. I wouldn't hate getting Hero though at all. I mean, that'd be fun to see.
Another Kentucky guy, another Kentucky guard. One goes out, one goes in, and of course Johnson, also a Kentucky guy in college. That was the checkerboard Kentucky era down the side. I want to ask you this though, Rudy, before we wrap up the segment. I think those are all worthwhile questions and avenues for the Spurs to pursue, but I don't want to miss the layup, which is easy to do when Wemby's at the rim. But to me, the biggest question for the Spurs this offseason is, how do you optimize Victor Wembanyama? You could see, with so much pressure put on him in his first, playoff run and, going that deep, the numbers he put up are pretty stellar. But you have to find ways to make Victor Wembanyama's life easier, right? Simpler, put him in the best position to succeed. And that all sounds very, very reductive. But what I think the Spurs need to do is figure out if Victor Wembanyama is the offensive hub or the defensive hub. Obviously, at 7'4", he can shoot over everyone. He doesn't have the greatest low post game, right? It's fine for a 7'4" guy. Sure, teach him the sky hook. Yeah, he's going to be a mid-30s three-point shooter, and we know his work ethic. But I don't think, at this point in his career, at least, Wemby is ready to be everything on offense and everything on defense, which is where the idea of a score-first guard in De'Aaron Fox goes a long way. Harper, I think, is probably offense first, but a capable defender, whereas Castle, you get a lot of value from the defense. I would love for the Spurs either to simplify offense or defense for Victor Wembanyama. And my gut would tell me, and then I'll throw it to you as the Spurs fan, my gut would be simplify Wemby on offense. Get guys that are better initiators, creators. Simplify him. Don't just make him, one-dimensional as a lob threat or a pick and pop kind of guy, because there are skills in there. There's competitiveness in there. There's pedigree there that he can do more for an offense. But I also think Victor Wembanyama has a chance to be the best defensive player we've ever seen. His legs and feet got pretty heavy on some closeouts. We know he's elite at the rim for that reason, because he's 7'4". And I think the bulk of Victor Wembanyama's value is tied up in defense. And so if they're going to do that one-man zone, they're going to play him in drop. They're going to play him as a switchable guy. And this is not going to be fair to Wemby or to this other player, but they have to figure out if Wemby is Giannis or Brook Lopez. Giannis was the off-the-ball roaming help defender, playing passing lanes, using the go-go gadget arms to disrupt opposing offenses that way, being a wrecking ball in transition. And Giannis is probably faster with the ball in his hands than Wemby is. But they also, I think the Spurs could simplify things for Wemby by turning him into a wildly overqualified Brook Lopez, where if he's going to be a pick and pop big, that's fine. He's a capable enough shooter. He can be a lob threat at times. But if he's going to be the drop coverage rim protector with some switchability, that's fine. Again, I'm not trying to put limits on him for what his career can be forever and always. But I don't think the Spurs can ask Wemby to be both Giannis and Brook Lopez. I think they have to figure out which one he's more comfortable being, where he provides the most value. And then if he's Giannis, okay, he's a 4. So go get a center, or, that's going to sit at the rim or offer ancillary skills. Or if he's Brook Lopez, don't be afraid to go get another power 4 that's going to put some pressure on the rim and play passing lanes.
Yeah, no, that's completely fair. I think it's a great way to word it too. Like I think you're going to get, at least at this point of his stage in his career, I think you're going to get way more value on that defensive end. I mean, we see it, whether it's in the stats or not, just the approach to the rim a lot of these teams have. Like you're seeing guys just run into the paint just to run out of it to create a new look, and it works for these other teams. I mean, we saw with Alvarado and that ball in his hand, there was hardly any shot he was ever going to take in the paint, but you draw them in, and then it looks good for us because it's like, okay, they're not going to take that shot, but then they're able to create it, and then obviously whatever. But I agree. I think you got to not limit it is the word either. I know you didn't use that either, but you got to figure out what you want him to be for this moment right now. And again, like there were some shots he was taking, and I was like that again, you can make those, I'm sure, those threes, those long balls, but that's just not you right now. Like I think he had that in his mind as well, that he had to do it all and do it all on his own, not just as a diss to anybody else, but you're supposed to be the best player on this team. You're in the finals, things aren't looking good, take over. And he's not there yet to take over the entire series like he did. I mean, not the entire series, but against Oklahoma, he was the key factor there, and they're, for rightful reasons, dropped 40 game one, but you're not going to get that every night. You're not at that level just yet. And I think he will be hopefully at some point. I think he'll be one of the best, like you're saying, but I agree. I think right now you got to be able to make it as easy as possible for him, because whenever he's able to do what he is good at, which is defense, I mean, the unanimous defensive player of the year right there, it's insane to watch. He can just take over games on the defensive end like we haven't seen in a while. I think maybe not dominantly, but the same presence Shaq had is what I've heard. Obviously, I didn't see the amazing Shaq days. I saw some of the Suns Shaq days, but the same thing, the same sentiment of guys are just not willing to go into that paint. Guys aren't willing to even pass near him, and it's just he's such a smart player, and you do want to make things easier for guys like that. So hopefully the scoring comes, because I mean when they're able to get that ball movement going like the Spurs have been since I've been a child, it's always beautiful. And I think that's what they're missing too, just some of that connection that they're going to hopefully grow over the next couple of years, and it pans into that, but we'll see. I think the defensive mindset first for him should be key, though. And then he takes these, I call them aura shots, where like he gets the ball and you just know he's going to shoot it for no reason. I mean, if he makes it, great. Like you silence the crowd, you get them loud, but often than not, they're hitting the rim and it's like, God, we just wasted a possession there. So, I mean, he's got to get smarter with some of his shot choices. And again, hopefully that all comes with age and comes with time. So I'm looking forward to it, but yeah, it's not a bad spot to be in either from where we're at. So
that's part of the burden of greatness, you know, with the expectations that he has, that he's proven that he can take them, right? And I think if there's anyone that I would trust in the modern NBA to step up under those and live up to them, it's going to be Victor Wembanyama. I'm with you on the Mitch Johnson thing. Maybe we can talk about that in our next segment a little bit, but I thought that was going to be a Brett Brown team. I thought that was going to be a Mike Budenholzer team, maybe a Quinn Snyder team. It's Mitch Johnson. And again, the Duke fan in me and in my brother sees a lot of John Shire, you know, a lot of talent, maybe the best player in all of the sport, you know, at least in the series potentially or in any given game, but the inability to close out, you know, some games with some big leads. So I think that certainly questions need to be asked. I'm with you, though. I don't think there's any need to hit the panic button, but that's where it falls to R.C. Buford and company. Let's talk a little bit more about that and wrap up hour 2 of the show in just a sec.
You're listening to Old School with Jay Foreman and Austin Orman. Download the mobile app and listen wherever you are on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
At DWE Generations, having a plan matters, especially when it comes to protecting what's most important. They work with individuals, families, and business owners to help make smart financial decisions that support life today and set the foundation for generations. David Darlington, Russell Walton, and Cody Eiler bring decades of experience, and their dedicated team provides follow-through, answering questions, explaining next steps, and staying connected as life evolves. DWE Generations, a generational wealth planning firm. DWE Generations is a marketing name for individuals doing business as representatives of Northwestern Mutual. Visit generations.nm.com or call 402-483-7871 and ask for David, Russell, or Cody.
The crack of the bat. Sizzling concessions. Yeah, that's the sound of summer at Haymarket Park. It's been that way for 25 seasons. And in this city, it's not a matter of if you'll catch a game, it's how many. Safe. That's because there's always something in play for Salt Dogs fans. From saluting our troops to Friday night fireworks, your local tradition plays on. Let's show summer how Lincoln celebrates 25 seasons. Get your tickets at saltdogs.com.
At Parkview Animal Hospital in Lincoln, it's not just their professional care that sets them apart, but their warm staff and state-of-the-art facilities. Whether it's for a routine checkup or a comprehensive medical procedure, at Parkview, your pet isn't just another number, but a valued member of their caring family. Visit them at pahlincoln.com today and in person just south of 14th and Pine Lake Road. Parkview Animal Hospital, your pet, our passion. For happier, healthier, furry friends.
Bauer Underground has been serving local contractors and utility contractors all across the state since 1997. When you see the black and white trucks, you know that the best workers in the business have arrived. Bauer is currently looking for equipment operators, laborers, diesel mechanics, and aerial linemen. Join the brotherhood built on hard work, authentic people, and a pedigree of success. They're offering top-notch benefits, a matching 401k, and a $600 per year clothing allowance. Bauer Underground, a family-friendly company with plenty of room for advancement.
Are you looking for an exciting new way to put your skills to work? Explore new career options in the fintech industry at Currency, a Sandhills global company. We offer full-time positions in financial sales, compliance, operations, and other fields. We also offer a 4.5-day work week, an attractive benefits package, and opportunities for advancement. Put your motivation to work and grow with us at Currency. Visit gocurrency.com/careers to learn more.
If you're seeking a career with a growing company, Gaina Trucking and Excavating is hiring and looking for additions to their team. Gaina Trucking has a strong team culture, competitive pay, 401ks, and benefits like health, dental, and vision. Drivers are guaranteed 40 hours per week, even in the winter months, and are home every night. Start your career today at Gaina Trucking and Excavating. Apply today at gainatrucking.com.
When you were a kid, clubs were cool. Robotics club and space club and stuff like that. But what do adults get? Book clubs, quilting clubs? Nah, forget that. How about margarita clubs and old-fashioned clubs? Get to Upside Bar and Lounge for the best clubs in town. Try all 10 varieties of Upside's margaritas and old fashions and take home a free souvenir glass. Grab the whole crew and pair it with taco night on Mondays or whiskey Wednesdays. Upside Bar and Lounge at 29th and Pine Lake.
At Schwezo Construction, safety isn't just a policy, it's a promise. Build with us. Work safe, go home proud. We're hiring skilled craftsmen, laborers, concrete workers, and steel erectors who value quality work and a team that has your back, on and off the job site. If you're ready to be part of a company where your safety and success come first, visit Schwezo.com. That's SCHWISOW.com and apply today. Schwezo Construction, 40 years strong and still building the future.
Lincoln is full of great golf courses in a state that is getting national recognition for exceptional golf. Friend Country Club is worth the drive, just 40 minutes from Lincoln and home to one of the state's most respected 9-hole courses. Enjoy their restaurant with popular items like a 14-ounce ribeye, 10-ounce sirloin, or chicken fried steak. Open Thursday through Saturday from 5:30 to 10 p.m. Expand your horizons with a trip to Friend Country Club, just 40 minutes southeast of Lincoln. It's worth a visit.
You started your business to build something special. Now it's time to grow and protect it. At Pinnacle Bank, our treasury management services help you do just that. Through smarter payment technology, account administration, and fraud protection. So no matter the size of your business, you can get the most out of your financial operations. Request your free consultation at pinbank.com/consult. Pinnacle Bank, the way banking should be. Member FDIC.
In every office, there's two types of people. There are those who bring in bagels and those who eat the bagels that someone else brought in. Everybody likes the first person. Be that first person. Weekday mornings at 7:30, you have a chance to win a business box of bagels from Bagels & Joe. All you have to do is shut up, Sipple. 2 questions for you, 2 for Sip. Win and the bagels are yours. Lose, well, you don't want to lose.
You lost Monday, you lost Wednesday, you're a loser.
Shut up, Sipple. Weekday mornings at 7:30, brought to you by Bagels & Joe.
Back to old school with Foreman and Orman on 93.7 The Ticket.
That's right. Welcome back in. It is indeed old school. Austin Norman, Rudy Kress with you for this segment and another hour here. Some news from the College World Series. Game 1 of the championship series moved up from 7 p.m. till 2 p.m. tomorrow. So they moved it up by 5 hours, get it in before some severe weather threatening to hit the greater 402 area tomorrow. So that'll be here on the air, hitting at 1:45, 15-minute pregame ahead of the 2 o'clock first pitch. All right, Rudy, you mentioned it. The Mitch Johnson factor. Wasn't overwhelmed by Mitch Johnson in any sense. First long playoff run for him, obviously. A guy that I didn't expect to get the reins. A very Spurs move to hand it over to him. Not mad at the job he did. Curious to see how he's able to learn from it.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the biggest thing. I don't think people are – there's some questionable decisions in there. I think for the finals, at least. A lot of fans, including myself, were more questioning the Fox playing time questions and the Harper not coming off, not going into on the court for the fourth quarter for most games. And I don't think De'Aaron Fox scored any points in the last 2 games of the series in the fourth quarter and things like that. It's just, how are we able to see it? And again, we have a different view on games. We can see the entire picture. Sometimes as a coach, as a player, you're in those moments. It doesn't feel like that. You don't see everything, I guess, but it's one of those things like it didn't make too much sense. And I think that hopefully that comes with the process of, like you're saying, it's his first full season, first playoff run, first finals trip. Like, these are things that you would hope to have ironed out before you get there. But if you learn them in the finals, you learn them all the same. So I'm hoping that it is a learning moment for not just him, but again, the team overall. And I think, like, there was some plays, again, I think the one that stands out to me quite often is 2 of them, actually. And it comes to timeouts that we missed on, didn't call. The one that Wemby threw off of Castle's back. Obviously, Brunson gets that ball. They end up winning that game in San Antonio. We had a timeout, didn't use it. De'Aaron Fox taking that ball for the layup. I think that was more of a Fox thing than anything, but still, another timeout, didn't think to use it. And again, it's all hindsight 2020. If he makes that layup or if Castle turns around and gets the pass, we're not even talking about that. But I think it's just those learning curves are going to be there for the players, but again, the coach. And I think he did a great job of getting us there. And I think, again, you can't be mad at that by any means. But when the lights are the brightest, that's obviously when these errors are always magnified. Again, missing free throws in the fourth quarter, that's not his fault. That's Wemby's fault. But you talk about them more because it's when they happen, not how. And so I think hopefully he learns from it too. I mean, there's a lot of grace to be given there, and I think it'll be for the right reasons. And I think the biggest thing that gave me the most comfort this year is that's who's taking over for Coach Pop. Again, one of the greatest coaches of all time. And I think that none of those coaching decisions in that organization or franchise don't go through him, at least while he's still in there. And as helpful to that team as he is, I'm sure he had some input on who would be taking the reins over. So that gives us comfort. I know that. And I want him to learn from it. I want him to be better. I don't want him to get out of there at all. But I mean, you like you're saying, the talent can get you so far, but some of those coaching decisions need to be a little better when the games are on the line. And I don't doubt they will be. It's again, very fresh in the mind to where it's very upsetting. But again, he got you there. It's the bare minimum was to ask for. He got it. He did his job. So, I mean, we just got to learn from it. That's the biggest thing right now. We'll see if we can, though.
Big Bag Hank wants to know where in Texas you're from.
I'm from San Antonio, right in the middle. So I'm south side of San Antonio, though.
There you go. Big Bang Hank. That answers that. So the fandom makes sense. Sundo in Lincoln says, if you want to get rid of Fox and his contract, go pick up Michael Porter Jr.
I don't hate that. Do I like it, man? I don't know. What do you think? I like Michael Porter.
Would you rather have Michael Porter Jr. or a Kawhi reunion?
Oh, wow.
With everything that would entail.
I like Kawhi. I know a lot. I think it's another one where he left a very bad taste in our mouth before he got out of there, because that was that's when he started the injury era where he wasn't playing because he was hurt, but he was questionably fine sometimes. And I mean, he goes and wins a ring in Toronto, so good for him. But yeah, it's just I like him. I like him though. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it'd be a good fit, I would hope. I mean, you get that defensive elite prowess there, and then of course he's a scorer too. So I mean, I wouldn't hate a Kawhi reunion. I don't know how the fans would feel. That's always the fun part, though. The San Antonio fans, it's very similar to Nebraska fans. That's all we got there. So, I mean, if you're in San Antonio, you're born there, there's a good chance 99% of the time you're going to be a Spurs fan. And those are our ride or die teams right there. That's the one thing all San Antonians can agree on. So it's awesome.
I think that's fair. All right. We'll be back at a full hour 3 of Old School coming your way. 93.7 The Ticket, ticketfm.com.
Watch Old School live on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. Old School with Foreman and Orman on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet, KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
Are you ready for a new opportunity? Check out Sandhills Global. Join a dynamic team where your skills are valued and your career can soar. We offer full-time positions with a 4.5-day work week, competitive pay, excellent benefits, and a positive work environment. From IT and marketing to sales and finance, we're looking for talented individuals just like you. Apply today at sandhills.jobs and take the first step towards an exciting future. That's sandhills.jobs. Don't wait, apply now.
At Suizo Construction, safety isn't just a policy, it's a promise. Build with us. Work safe, go home proud. We're hiring skilled craftsmen, laborers, concrete workers, and steel erectors who value quality work and a team that has your back on and off the job site. If you're ready to be part of a company where your safety and success come first, visit Schwizo.com. That's SCHWISOW.com and apply today. Schwizo Construction, 40 years strong and still building the future.
Bauer Underground has been serving local contractors and utility contractors all across the state since 1997. When you see the black and white trucks, you know that the best workers in the business have arrived. Bauer is currently looking for equipment operators, laborers, diesel mechanics, and aerial linemen. Join the brotherhood built on hard work, authentic people, and a pedigree of success. They're offering top-notch benefits, a matching 401k, and a $600 per year clothing allowance. Bauer Underground, a family-friendly company with plenty of room for advancement.
Is your technology built for where you are or for where you're going? Can your current technology support future growth? To break through that invisible ceiling, you need executive-level strategic technology advising. Moser can help your business grow appropriately and efficiently, giving you the ability to turn your tech stack from a cost center into a growth engine. Visit moserit.com/theticket. That's moserit.com/THETICKET to learn more.
Building a new home can be a challenge, a lot of big choices. With our Remington homes, we have designed 15 different floor plans that appeal to a wide range of people.
Bob Benish of Aspen Builders, talking about Remington Homes, which makes the home building process easier.
People really enjoy being able to go to our website, which is remingtonlincoln.com, pick a plan, pick a price point, go through and build it yourself. You have a lot of options, whether you want granite, painted trim, wood floors, more stone, all options with our Remington homes. People do not want to be married to their house payment. You're able to get what you really want in a home for a great price with very limited stress. And that's what Remington homes are all about.
Home building is easier with a Remington home from Aspen Builders at 423-6811. Online at remingtonlincoln.com. remingtonlincoln.com.
If you're seeking a career with a growing company, Gaina Trucking and Excavating is hiring and looking for additions to their team. Gaina Trucking has a strong team culture, competitive pay, 401ks, and benefits like health, dental, and vision. Drivers are guaranteed 40 hours per week, even in the winter months, and are home every night. Start your career today at Gaina Trucking and Excavating. Apply today at gainatrucking.com.
When you were a kid, clubs were cool. Robotics club and space club and stuff like that. But what do adults get? Book clubs, quilting clubs? Nah, forget that. How about margarita clubs and old-fashioned clubs? Get to Upside Bar and Lounge for the best clubs in town. Try all 10 varieties of Upside's margaritas and old-fashions and take home a free souvenir glass. Grab the whole crew and pair it with taco night on Mondays or whiskey Wednesdays. Upside Bar and Lounge at 29th and Pine Lake.
Hi, everyone. Kendall Warnock, owner of A1 Automotive. At A1 Automotive, we believe every vehicle has a purpose, and every customer does too. That's why we focus on dependable repairs, honest recommendations, and exceptional speed in service. Our goal is simple, to help you travel confidently and safely wherever life takes you. A1 Automotive, driven by purpose, built on trust. You can visit us online, a1autolincoln.com, or visit us at either of our three locations, 5110 State Hill Drive, 1117 L Street here in Lincoln, and our newest location, 408 Main Street, Seward, Nebraska.
If you want to make new floor shopping easier, come to O Street Carpet. Hi, I'm Steve Carper. Our flooring professionals can help you choose the best flooring for you, your family, and your budget. We eliminate the confusion. Even better, you'll be enjoying your new flooring much sooner. No 6 or 8 week waits. We'll install right away and save you money on installation. Floor shopping made easy every day at O Street Carpet. O Street Carpet. 1732 O Street. Family owned and operated. Always the best value.
At Parkview Animal Hospital in Lincoln, it's not just their professional care that sets them apart, but their warm staff and state-of-the-art facilities. Whether it's for a routine checkup or a comprehensive medical procedure, at Parkview, your pet isn't just another number, but a valued member of their caring family. Visit them at pahlincoln.com today and in person just south of 14th and Pine Lake Road. Parkview Animal Hospital, your pet, our passion. For happier, healthier, furry friends.
93.7 The Ticket is Lincoln's home for Kansas City Royals baseball in 2026. Catch all the action as Bobby Witt Jr., Salvador Perez, Vinny Pasquantino, and a pitching rotation led by Cole Reagans try to lead the Royals back to the postseason. That's Kansas City Royals baseball all summer long. On the air in Lincoln at 93.7 The Ticket. Coming at you live from the heart of downtown Lincoln. This is Old School with Foreman and Orman. Nebraska Football Hall of Famer Jay Foreman.
Here's Troy Detmer dropping straight back in the pocket. Rifles a pass. It was tipped. It's picked off by Foreman. He's at the 15, 10, 5. He'll score! Foreman got it, and it's touchdown Huskers.
Black shirts answer the call one more time.
And Austin Orman. Old School with Foreman and Orman is sponsored by Graham Tire Company of Lincoln, your tire store next door with 4 Lincoln locations. Old School with Foreman and Orman on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Away we go into hour 3 of Old School. Austin Orman, Rudy Gress with you for the next hour and change. Corner 3 will be coming your way from 6 to 7 p.m. Real Talk with Rudy coming up then from 7 to 8 p.m. on your Ticket Friday nights. Thanks for sticking with us here at the end of your work week. Hope you are able to stay warm and dry out of the rain. Maybe not too warm. I guess it is still 75 degrees outside. Doesn't look like it should be. But, hey, that's June in Nebraska for you. Make sure you're safe on the road, not worrying about slipping and sliding, hydroplaning, any of that bad stuff by making sure you get your car taken in to the good folks over there at Graham Tire Company. Again, 4 Lincoln locations, but they are celebrating 75 years of serving the greater Midwest. More than just tires, they do all kinds of car and light truck repairs, too. From brakes to oil changes, trust Graham Tire for service you can count on. Graham Tire getting you to the places that matter most. A couple things to get to here, Rudy, and we can tie this into Nebraska a little bit. We're going to talk some Iowa basketball, just kind of some big picture stuff with the Hawkeyes. Not personnel, not scheme or anything, but more the schedule. Iowa men's basketball scheduled a 2-year neutral site series with Alabama. First game will be this year in Des Moines. Next year, they will head down to Mobile, Alabama. I don't know how Chris Raff and our Alabamian friends would pronounce that officially. But either way, first game will take place in the state of Iowa. Second game will take place in the state of Alabama. Obviously, Iowa makes it a round further than Nebraska does. In year 1 of Ben McCollum, they make it to the Elite 8 by knocking off the Huskers in the Sweet 16 there in Houston. And I've been on these airwaves, and I've been, pretty happy with what Nebraska's done in the non-conference schedule. Love the Boise game. Missouri game is going to be interesting. The Butler game, I think, is a worthwhile swing for Nebraska to take the Providence game early in the season, on top of the annual matchup with Creighton and no MTE that we know of right now for Nebraska. I like what Nebraska's done with scheduling. But to be fair, they also haven't done anything like go out and schedule a team that's, been a consistent second weekend program recently, a team that's been to the top of the SEC recently. And I understand that Nebraska hasn't done that. I understand that Iowa's been a little bit more successful, over the last 10 plus years than Nebraska has, but go back to, middle, late McCaffrey era into year 1 of Ben McCollum, as opposed to end of Miles into everything that's gone on with Fred Hoiberg. I was a little surprised to see this game get scheduled. Creighton and Alabama have played. Creighton and Iowa have played. Creighton's getting Gonzaga in a home-and-home series, or essentially home-and-home series last year and then this year. And again, those are still probably bigger name programs than Nebraska. So I understand that when it comes to the sport of basketball. But does Nebraska need to start trying to reach out to an Alabama or a Gonzaga or something to that level? Or are you cool with the Huskers leaving those games for other programs?
I think coming off of the year and all the success and everything, like obviously a Sweet 16 appearance, you're not a fluke anymore. I'll admit that. And so I think maybe not this year, but I think at some point soon, I would hope next year would be the year, maybe then the following season. Because I think once you're in a team that is established itself as a program that is worth competing with and can make these runs. And I mean, I don't hate that it's not going to be this year where you have an Alabama or something like that at all. And I think maybe if another year of success, another tournament trip, another tournament win in there, I think then you start getting into these talks of, okay, like you're not little old Nebraska anymore. Now you're a basketball program that has some more relevancy, more credibility to go with it, and more not even chances of winning those games, because again, every game's a dogfight regardless. But I think once you're able to show that, okay, you are a national team that should be on the national stage with some of these bigger teams, I think then that's when it happens. I don't hate that it's not this year, but I could see how they're at least on track for that if things can pan out, and I think it will. I think they're building something special with that basketball program here. So I mean, I do think once that becomes a norm of success here, I think that's when that would come into effect, and hopefully one more year of that would show it. Because again, you finished with the crown the year before, you finished with the Sweet 16 appearance. So I mean, you're making the right strides, and I think if you can do it one more time, I think you're in those talks at least to have these competitions at the beginning of the season for sure. I would hope.
And I think it's a little trickier for Nebraska to do this just because the neutral site venues that they're going to want to play in either A, skew, super heavily toward Nebraska, and B, because of that lack of consistent success. And I talked about that a little bit with the Wings that Nebraska had missed out on in recruiting, is that it's not a reason for doom and gloom. It's not a reason to say Nebraska's behind any other program necessarily, but it's a wins and losses. It's a results-based business. And either Nebraska has tried to get these games and teams have told them no, or Nebraska hasn't tried to get these games. And, again, it's defensible, it's understandable. But if Nebraska wants to play in Omaha, well, guess what? You're probably going to need Creighton's assistance or, Omaha men's basketball's assistance. And I don't think that's necessarily something either of those programs would want to do or Nebraska would be interested in doing. Would you want to go play in Council Bluffs? Why would you go play a game in Iowa? I don't know. Would you rather, get a neutral site game in Kansas City? Do you want to go to Nashville? And I get that, if it's a 2-year series, you're playing one closer to each person. Again, I go back to where would Nebraska go? Would they invite Alabama to match up in Kansas City? I don't think Nebraska would want to go to Nashville to play them. I don't think Nebraska would want to go to Birmingham maybe for the return game. Could Nebraska get a one-off? I don't know. But I think the point is that I would think there would be enough respect for Nebraska now for the Huskers to be in these conversations. Getting a game like that would be a huge step up in scheduling for Nebraska that we just haven't seen. Of course, they did schedule a game against Auburn early-ish on in Fred Hoiberg's tenure against an Auburn team that I thought was going to be interesting. Ended up being second weekend plus good, essentially, and Nebraska got beat by, felt like a zillion in that one. And so I understand that that's not Nebraska's scheduling philosophy, but I do think it's worth noting that it's kind of the way of the world now in college basketball, where we see more and more of these big time neutral site games being scheduled in the non-conference. And I think that if Nebraska truly views itself as a team that's going to be an NCAA tournament contender year in, year out, a team that has, reasonable hopes of making it to the second weekend now, that Nebraska needs to start carrying itself as a program like that. And here's the thing, the Missouri game is going to be a good one. Missouri was good this last year. I think they'll be better, certainly more talented this next year. Providence, it's an intriguing game. Butler, less so. I'm not sure that's going to be very good. Boise State, we'll see how the Broncos are, but they're, usually an 18 to 23 win program under Coach Rice there in the Mountain West. But that's been Nebraska's MO, is take a team that you think you can pick off early in the year that will improve their standing later in the year. That's not what this is for Iowa and for Alabama. That game intrigues me in a basketball sense. Alabama's going to play super fast and get up a bunch of threes. Iowa's going to play super slow, try to control the possession battle. And so I think there's some styles make fights there that either team would want to learn from. But I think for Nebraska, if you think you're a program of that caliber, if you think that you're going to be in the NCAA tournament with any regularity, if you think that you're going to be winning games in the NCAA tournament, more often than not, you don't need to take a back seat, right? It only takes one team to say yes, right? One team that'll say, oh, that's intriguing. Nebraska's better, but we know we're deeper as a program. We're confident in our team, and maybe we don't want to lock into a 2-year series. Maybe, we're doing Nebraska a favor by taking this game, giving them some recognition. We feel like we're going to win. We'll make them play it closer to home, but sure, we'll play them. Nebraska can't be disrespected. Nebraska can't do a 3-year series and have to go on the road or quasi road for 2 of them for just one at neutral home site game. But I think the way of the world is that Nebraska is going to need to start making a call to whether it's, in Alabama that comes to mind, right? What about Nebraska and Tennessee? Thomas and Lincoln, fellow Texas fan, says, what about Nebraska and Texas, right? I know Troy Dandon said no to Texas Tech, but that's kind of the caliber of program that I think Nebraska needs to start scheduling, right? Could Nebraska get in with a Villanova, a team like that, instead of a Providence, especially with the Kevin Willard connection back from the Big Ten? I like what Nebraska's done. I think it's a good step in the right direction for the program that still fits with their philosophy. I would love to see if Nebraska could take a swing at this, Final Four caliber team sometime in the near future.
Yeah, I agree. I think too, in other sports, I mean, that's the big talk about those first 3 or 4 games in college football. It's the same thing. Like, why, again, Texas, I want you to go out there, schedule Ohio State. I don't need the Grambling states at the start of the season, anything like that. And I think it's the same thing with basketball now. I think obviously it's a little different because it's not going to hold as much weight as the first 4 games of a football season, but still you want to go out there, you want to show that you can compete with these teams. And I mean, again, just Nebraska, Wesleyan, us, we played the number 1 Division III baseball team, and like whether you win or lose, we lost. But it at least shows you, okay, where we're almost at, where we need to be, where who we think we are. All these things can be answered in some of these games, and I think that is the bigger deal. Because, yeah, you want to go out there, you want to beat Alabama, you want to beat Villanova, and then that is a possibility with how Nebraska's been playing this last year. I mean, they're not a team that is taken lightly, at least shouldn't be, and hopefully they can keep that rolling to keep proving that. But again, you can prove that with some of these bigger matchups, and I do hope that is the case because, like we're saying, this basketball program is headed the right way, and their trajectory is one that we've been kind of waiting for around here, and I love that for Nebraska, love it for Lincoln. So I mean, like you're saying, if you're who you really think you are, those are the games that do need to be getting scheduled at some point. And again, maybe not this year exactly, but you have another successful year. I would hope that is the plan and the thought process from the higher ups and the planners and everything, that this time next year we're talking about some bigger matchups that are in place, and hopefully that Texas, that Alabama, hopefully those are on the schedule somewhere along like that.
And I'm going to look up Iowa men's basketball's schedule for this coming season just to see who they have on there. The 2 games that they're showing right now are Sunday, November 15th against Creighton in Des Moines, and Monday, December 21st against Alabama in Des Moines. Okay, both those games I think make sense for Iowa. I'm sure it will end up getting filled out in a pretty similar way to what Nebraska does. Let me just go back while I'm thinking about it here and look up Iowa's schedule in year 1 under Ben McCollum. Obviously, a few games against Nebraska are included in there. But, okay, for Iowa last season, Hawkeyes non-conference looked like this. Robert Morris, Western Illinois, Xavier, Southeast Missouri State, Chicago State. Those were all at home in Iowa City. MTE against Ole Miss and Grand Canyon. Iowa won both those games. Then they started out conference play in December against Michigan State and Maryland, split those 2. Lost on the road by 4 at Iowa State, played Western Michigan, Bucknell, and UMass Lowell in the non-con. And that's fine. I guess Xavier was not, peak Xavier by any means, but they're below 500 under the other Pitino, Richard Pitino, not Rick Pitino. And so I think that's kind of what Nebraska is going for with Providence, but obviously they'll hope that Providence is a crown team at the very least in year 1 under Brian Hodgson. Let's get to this really quick too, in terms of news from across the Missouri River. Caitlin Clark got her signature shoe. What took so long? Dan Wetzel had a really interesting article up there for ESPN. And again, I'm not a lover of all things Caitlin Clark by any means. It is shocking to me, though, that she was probably the most famous female athlete in America at the very least. And we know that she started going worldwide as well. And for Nike, who's been so quick to jump on the shoe train for so many other athletes at a time when it was hemorrhaging money, maybe Caitlin Clark wouldn't have turned everything around. I'm honestly shocked it took them this long to get a Caitlin Clark shoe line out.
Yeah, I agree. I think that was I think obviously you can't, maybe the thought process is, let's not throw it on a rookie, but at the same time, like, she is the reason, at least a huge reason, as to why the WNBA got that popularity back. And I agree. I feel like if this were to happen that first year she was out there, at least as soon as she was done with college, like, they could have made a killing off of this, because she was the biggest thing in sports for a long time for that stretch of period of time. Obviously, that whole rivalry with Angel Reese was sparking things up and made things even more fun to watch. So yeah, I like the shoes though. I do. They look pretty slick. They look cool. I might maybe get a pair. I'm never gonna hoop in them, but I agree though. This is a long time coming in the sense of how popular she's been. But I mean, it's super cool. I think it's weird though, because now obviously the WNBA is getting so much more talent, so much more recognition, to where it's like I was back home, and of course a couple, like, we're talking about just sports, and they were like, oh, like they're figuring out Caitlin Clark, and I'm like, yeah, but at the same time, like these girls that she's playing against are just getting better too as like the game's evolving. So I mean, it's a good time for it. But I agree. I think these would have been cool to come out a couple years ago. But I'll try to get a pair in there somewhere, hopefully.
So from the ESPN article, Caitlin Clark first signed with Nike to an NIL deal in October of 22. That was before her junior year in Iowa. And she was already, obviously getting big at that point, and then went, full supernova for those last couple years there as well. And this is the same company that obviously signed, Michael Jordan, Kobe, LeBron, Tiger, so many of these athletes at a young age. And Sonny Vaccaro, the guy who signed Jordan to Nike, said, it's one of the biggest failures I've ever seen. She was bigger than Michael Jordan in some ways because she was a known commodity when she entered the WNBA. The public had grabbed onto her like no one else. She is more than just a basketball player. It makes no sense. That's from Sonny Vaccaro, the guy that signed Michael Jordan to Dan Wetzel. The argument that Wetzel lays out for why maybe it took this long is just because of the makeup of the WNBA, right? Primarily minority league, right? Caitlin Clark comes in as the white face of the league, maybe after Sabrina Ionescu at that point from Oregon. Paige Becker's right behind her. And A'ja Wilson had her shoe yet. But to me, that's an even bigger indictment on Nike and the WNBA, because we know A'ja Wilson's a superstar. She dominated college in a similar but earlier time frame to Caitlin Clark. She was a big deal with her own, fair level of publicity, and came in and, really took the WNBA by storm in a lot of ways. The problem is that you didn't get A'ja Wilson a shoe early enough, right? You had that opportunity to partner with her. And, is she as marketable, more marketable, less marketable than Caitlin Clark? I'm going to trust that Nike knows better than me. But I would like to think that Nike and the WNBA would have had a sense that, hey, this player's coming. Let's, even if it's, a more limited run than we might normally do, let's get the current, face of the league or face of the young crop of talent a shoe, because we know we have to get this next one out here sooner than later. And for them to push it off that long because they didn't have a shoe for A'ja Wilson, that makes it look even worse to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Because then, like you're saying, that's just more of a, like, yeah, I understand their thought process to an extent, but at the same time, in the same question, it's like, why didn't Wilson have her own shoe already to begin with, like you're asking? I do wonder if along the line somewhere, because I know when she was that senior year at Iowa that she went absolutely insane, like you're saying. I know she was rocking Kobe's for a majority of that entire season. I know she had some player exclusives in there and everything. So I wonder if that maybe not played a role, but maybe if like that just keep rocking the Kobe's, maybe it's not a big deal for her, maybe to that extent. But I mean, yeah, they both deserve shoes at the end of the day. And I agree. I think because she still has that hype, but it was nothing like that year coming out of her senior year. Because like they said, she, to some facet, was one of the biggest stars in the entire world. And I mean, she more or less changed the entire sport of women's basketball with just her shooting ability, her skills. And that's definitely a missed opportunity in there. Like, just when you really think, because she'll sell those shoes, but like, I clearly remember going to a Dick's here in Lincoln, Nebraska, and they had Indiana Fever shirts, and it's like Caitlin Clark in Lincoln, Nebraska, an Iowa basketball player. It's like, but they were selling out. They didn't have a Rudy Gress size. So I mean, yeah, I don't know, they missed that one for sure. But glad she got it now. We'll see how that looks though.
Big appreciation for everyone chiming in on our Starter Heyman Jewelers text line and on YouTube as well. We'll get some of your thoughts throughout the course of the rest of the show. And just kidding, this user is getting banned and put in timeout. We were doing great until that last one. So we'll go to break. When we get back, we'll talk some Major League Baseball draft day. Kind of clearly laid out proposal and some thoughts from a long-time baseball mind. We'll get to that and more as we continue Old School.
You're listening to Old School with Jay Foreman and Austin Orman. Download the mobile app and listen wherever you are on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Jack Russell of Farm Bureau Financial Services is here to help you protect things that are most important to you. Whether it's your home, your family, or your future, Jack Russell has the proven experience to get the job done while developing authentic relationships with you. Give Jack a call today at 402-421-9100. Again, that's 402-421-9100. Or visit one of his 2 locations in Lincoln or Seward and learn how you can excel in the complicated world of insurance. Jack Russell of Farm Bureau Financial Services, a trusted and well-respected representative since 1999.
Here's your updated 93.7 The Ticket forecast, sponsored by Bryant Air Conditioning, Electrical, Heating, and Plumbing. A flood watch begins at 7 p.m. tomorrow night and continues until 7 a.m. Sunday. Slight chance of thunderstorms tonight, otherwise mainly cloudy skies expected. Lows level off around 61, winds out of the east around 5 miles per hour. That's your updated forecast on Lincoln's home for the Kansas City Royals. 93.7 The Ticket. I'm meteorologist Carol Foster. Right now, it's 69 degrees.
Is your technology built for where you are or for where you're going? Can your current technology support future growth? To break through that invisible ceiling, you need executive-level strategic technology advising. Moser can help your business grow appropriately and efficiently, giving you the ability to turn your tech stack from a cost center into a growth engine. Visit moserit.com/theticket. That's moserit.com/theticket to learn more.
Are you looking for an exciting new way to put your skills to work? Explore new career options in the fintech industry at Currency, a Sandhills global company. We offer full-time positions in financial sales, compliance, operations, and other fields. We also offer a 4.5-day work week, an attractive benefits package, and opportunities for advancement. Put your motivation to work and grow with us at Currency. Visit gocurrency.com/careers to learn more.
If you want to make new floor shopping easier, come to O Street Carpet. Hi, I'm Steve Carper. Our flooring professionals can help you choose the best flooring for you, your family, and your budget. We eliminate the confusion. Even better, you'll be enjoying your new flooring much sooner. No 6 or 8 week waits. We'll install right away and save you money on installation. Floor shopping made easy every day at O Street Carpet.
O Street Carpet.
1732 O Street. Family owned and operated. Always the best value.
Are you ready for a new opportunity? Check out Sandhills Global. Join a dynamic team where your skills are valued and your career can soar. We offer full-time positions with a 4.5-day work week, competitive pay, excellent benefits, and a positive work environment. From IT and marketing to sales and finance, we're looking for talented individuals just like you. Apply today at sandhills.jobs and take the first step towards an exciting future. That's sandhills.jobs. Don't wait, apply now.
Working in your yard? Keep fences, landscaping, and structures clear of electrical equipment. Getting too close isn't just unsafe, it could cost you. Visit les.com for our fence and landscaping installation guide.
Lincoln is full of great golf courses in a state that is getting national recognition for exceptional golf. Friend Country Club is worth the drive, just 40 minutes from Lincoln and home to one of the state's most respected 9-hole courses. Enjoy their restaurant with popular items like a 14-ounce ribeye, 10-ounce sirloin, or chicken fried steak. Open Thursday through Saturday from 5:30 to 10 p.m. Expand your horizons with a trip to Friend Country Club, just 40 minutes southeast of Lincoln. It's worth a visit.
Hey Husker Nation, this is Todd Euler, 2-time national champion with Window World Lincoln. Are you ready to transform your home? We offer exceptional replacement windows, doors, siding, and roofing that will elevate your home's curb appeal and value. As a nationally known, locally owned business, we treat you like family and work tirelessly to deliver the best for less. Don't wait to give your home the upgrade it deserves. Contact Window World Lincoln today at 464-7313 or check out windowworldlincoln.com. Let's make your home the talk of the neighborhood.
Is there anything worse than paying for something that's done half-assed? You buy something, you want it to work, especially when it comes to your internet. When you're trying to stream a movie, work from home, or shop online, half-assed internet doesn't get it done. At Allo Fiber, we don't do anything half-assed. We offer 100% real fiber and real human support that serves the community from the community. So while others may say they have fiber, in the end, there's half-fast fiber, and then there's Allo Fiber. Allo Fiber, internet built for you.
At Anderson Ford, we offer a 5-day return or exchange policy, so you can make sure the vehicle you choose is the best vehicle for you. No pressure. Right now, lease a 2026 Ford F-150 for $198 per month for 36 months. Experience better at Anderson Ford. Stock number 1008623, $198 per month lease for 36 months with approved credit, 7,500 miles per year, 14,000 to its signing. No security deposit required. Tax, title, and license fees extra. Residency restrictions apply. Program subject to change. Must take new retail delivery from Anderson Auto Group by 7/6/26.
Back to old school with Foreman and Orman on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back in. It is Old School. Austin Norman, Rudy Grass with you here for another half an hour or so on Old School, brought to you by the good folks over at Graham Tire Company. Major League Baseball proposing some new rules and regulations for the MLB draft. Nothing official as of now, but these proposals would be part of what the league office would like to be representative in the new collective bargaining agreement that will expire in December. And there's probably going to be a long labor fight on the hands. For those of you that might have missed it, just a rundown of some of the proposals that baseball had. High school players would be ineligible for the domestic draft and need to be at least 2 years removed from graduation to be selected. An international draft would be implemented for every player outside of the U.S., Canada, and Puerto Rico. The domestic draft and international draft would both last 20 rounds. Minimum age of entry for international players would be 18 years old instead of 16. Minimum age for domestic draft would be age 20 on September 1st. Now, college players would be eligible after their sophomore year moving forward, not just their junior year. Signing bonus pool, hard slotted and capped at $200 million, which is essentially what international players are getting now, but it would cut in half what domestic players are getting in the draft. So you lose almost half the rounds and you lose almost exactly half of the money. Tradable draft picks, a reduction of teams in the lottery, and you get rid of the competitive balance sandwich round choices. And college baseball obviously would benefit by getting some talent sticking around. Undrafted players from both pools would sign for a maximum of $10,000 with a $30,000 bonus for making it to full season camp. And no cuts of minor league teams in 2030, or at least by 2030. And that would, of course, likely be on the table again after that. Rudy, your reaction to those proposed changes from Major League Baseball?
Yeah, I'm not a fan. I mean, I understand how other sports don't have the straight from high school anymore, and I understand that to an extent, especially like just throwing it out there. But like football, like if you were to have guys going straight from high school football to the NFL, okay, I get it. But like this is, I think with how long the process is to even get, once you get drafted to get to the MLB is an insane process in its own. I've always enjoyed the high schoolers getting drafted because, like, okay, like you're going out of your way too. Like, it's a big risk for the team as well. You're taking a 17-year-old kid out of high school to come and hopefully be the future. I mean, Jackson Holiday, we see it with him. We see it with so many guys who just get drafted out of high school and then either they pan out or they don't. And I understand that risk there, but I think that's the best part because if you do take such a risk with the number one pick to take a Jackson Holiday, you're putting a lot into him, but then at the same time, he has to go through this process. If he's ready for it, he's going to develop there. And if it works out, it works out. I mean, we're seeing it. I Blaze Jordan hit his first home run last week, and it's like, that's a dude I grew up. I think we're very similar in age, and it's like,
and talent level.
Yeah, to an extent. Yeah, he has one more home run in the MLB than me. That's all. But I like those are guys that you can see why they are drafted in high school. They have the tools for it, and I understand how college baseball would benefit from it. That'd be awesome, but we're also not at a point where that's an issue. I don't think I'm not like, oh, I wish Marcelo Meyer really wants to go play college. It's like, no, like at the end of the day, he's good enough to go to the MLB. And then you have guys who, that's the thing, regardless, at the end of the day, you're still going to have top talent who do still want to go play college baseball because of everything that comes with it. The Omaha trips, the plane for your favorite school, all these things that go into these choices already. Like that's not going to go anywhere, but I don't know. I'm not a fan of the getting rid of high school. I feel like that's what made the MLB draft so unique once basketball went away from that. I enjoyed it. I think it gives teams that kind of not advantage, but the head start on developing players, but also the risk of it, which is always insane to see. I mean, my Blue Jays have wasted some cool high school picks that we're never going to see touch an MLB field at some point, and it sucks. But if it pans out, it pans out. I don't know. I'm not a fan of it. I'm not a fan of them cutting the rounds down either and then cutting the pay, which that kind of doesn't make too much sense for me how that really works out. But I guess, I don't know. Overall, I'm just not a huge fan of. You said they were going to start allowing trades of draft picks, though.
Yes,
I do wish that was more of a already a thing in the MLB. I think it's funny to hear like Stephen A. whenever they're on First Take and he mentions, oh, they could just trade for draft picks, and it's like it's not how that works.
Brother.
But I think that's something I've always wanted the MLB to hopefully implement, but not with the removal of some other things like we're seeing. I don't know.
Yeah, the Major League Baseball office and the owners, or as they would like to be referred to, the clubs, are taking a lot away from the NBA and from the NFL, where you add the variable of tradable picks into that round. Now, there would be only 12 rounds instead of 20 to trade with, but also hard slotting. So right now, I think one of the
unique characteristics of the baseball draft is that there's not that locked in amount of money. It's not just, hey, here's the contract. If we draft you, you're going to sign it. Is that there is still some intrigue between, oh, well, this guy signed for this amount. Do you go over slot to all but make sure that you get the guy that you have your sights set on more often than not in the top 10? Or do you take, a guy for under slot value, right? Give him a little bit less, but pick him earlier, more than you probably would have gotten, so you can save money and maybe not get quite the ceiling or caliber of prospect by going under slot early. Get yourself someone probably a little bit better late, right? With a promise or a guarantee of a little bit more money. And I've always liked the character of the baseball draft in that way. I don't like eliminating that many draft picks. I mean, there are still 4 teams that you have to fill out before you even get to the majors, low, high, double, and triple A teams all included there. And so I think baseball, almost more so than any other sport, needs that pipeline to be strong, needs teams in that system. And it's just a dang shame that baseball wants to cut the number of rounds of draft and cut the money in half. That's a shame. If they wanted to reduce the number of rounds, hey, we're not having any trouble filling out our organizations. We like older players. We're not going as young. We don't want to take on as much risk in terms of developing the high schoolers. Yeah, they'll still get drafted, but we'd really prefer them to go to college. Okay, then go ahead and cut down a few rounds and go ahead and change your drafting philosophy to take the lower variance, more consistent type of players that are going to get to the major leagues faster. But it's just another way that in a time of prosperity for baseball, is at its richest point, I don't know, relative to different economies, but certainly baseball has rebounded from where it was a handful of years ago. For baseball to be on the upswing, for baseball to have all these issues and these concerns about what the Dodgers are spending versus what the Rays are spending, or the Rockies or the Pirates are spending, to just turn around and have Major League Baseball owners as a whole cry poor or try to keep more of the pie for themselves. Major League Baseball in the last few years has really standardized what technology is allowed in Major League Baseball training facilities and minor league stadiums and beyond, which, okay, I get maybe approving the companies, but, if teams don't want to use it, they don't have to. They're just going to fall behind the curve. I don't think that should be something that the league office needs to mandate necessarily, and yet they've taken it upon themselves to do it. It's not out of the ordinary or out of the realm of normal for the amount of revenue that the baseball players have received. I think they're at about 47% of revenues, whereas the NFL and the NBA are like 48 and 49% respectively. So it's within the same ballpark. But for baseball to try to kill all this momentum, or the league office to kill all this momentum, just to say, oh, well, we don't want to pay minor leaguers, or we don't want to, continue funding the development process. We want ready-made players. That's never been the way baseball's worked. It's different because you have this well-established system that it seems like they're trying to upset the apple cart just to be cheap. It's worked well. It's worked effectively. And, is it a huge money maker? Probably not. It is probably a sinkhole. But I think you got to factor that into development costs, the cost of doing business. Some teams have figured out ways to do it well, to do it effectively, to do it efficiently. And it's just a shame that it seems like there's no good reason for baseball to need to upset the apple cart. And yet here they are having the horse kick it all over.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, is like there hasn't been anybody to complain about this, at least not to this extent, to where it's like, okay, let's change everything. And it's like you're fixing problems that weren't really problems to begin with. And I think that's going to be just like that. I mean, it comes from the greed of it all. You're saving more money for your own pockets if you're the owners, as like all that. And it's just, I don't know. I mean, I feel like that is more of a base. I mean, obviously all the owners for many of these teams really just care about the money going back to their pocket, which is, I get it, it's a business, but at the end of the day, like you're saying, now you're taking money out of the minor league contracts. Now you're taking all these guys who aren't going to be getting as paid as much. Now, if you don't get drafted, now you're only getting the $10,000, I would have said, which again, $10,000 is a lot of money. Great. But not to fund a career, not to fund a lifestyle of being a professional athlete. And then the $30,000 bonus, okay, 40 grand, that's still close to minimum wage of working a regular job in Lincoln, Nebraska. And it's like, that's, again, I understand it to an extent. These guys don't get paid a ton until they're the big league contracts, but it just doesn't make too much sense of what the reasoning is. And I think that's the most confusing part too. Does not make entire sense to me yet. And Again, this is still up for, it's not official yet. That's the not big thing, but that's the big thing for me. Hopefully it's not going to be, or maybe some changes get implemented that help this make more sense. But as of right now, it's just very confusing. It seems very unnecessary is the word I'm going with.
This wasn't necessarily related to the draft specifically, but I think it fits. John Vanderwall, who ended up being like a 14-year major league veteran, he's talking about Max Clark and the Tigers and what he's going through. And I thought it was really interesting, a long tweet that he posted. John Vanderwall says, the minor leagues aren't there just for success. They're there for failure. A player learns more about himself during a 3-week slump than he does during a 3-week hot streak. And this is where so many organizations miss the mark. They rush players. You're seeing hitters and pitchers spend a year, sometimes less, in the minors before getting pushed to the big leagues. Do they have the talent? Probably, but talent is only part of the equation. The mental side of baseball is every bit as important as the physical side. The minor leagues aren't just there to develop tools. They're there to develop toughness, to teach players how to handle failure, make adjustments, survive slumps, and learn who they are as competitors. Today's game has become, he has the talent. Let's bring him up and let him figure it out in the big leagues. That's backwards. The minor leagues are where you're supposed to figure it out. That's why so many players get exposed. And that's one of the biggest reasons the game isn't as good as it should be today. The counter argument to that for Major League Baseball would be, well, the NFL does it straight from college to the pros. Well, the NBA does it with a little bit of maybe a breeding ground in the developmental league or maybe overseas. But that's never necessarily been the culture for baseball. And yes, there's a mental part of all sports, but you know, from playing in college, Rudy, there's just something different about the mental side of things in baseball. And sure, you know, Connor Griffins, Mike Trouts, Ken Griffey Jr.'s, etc., will fly through the minors anyways because they're so good. Look at Jack Caglione, right? Who never struggled in the minors, right? Came, raked right away, struggled in the big leagues, and then struggled to adapt to the struggle, right? He's doing a lot better this year. But I just worry that Major League Baseball is missing the mark of what John Vanderwall is talking about, how it seems like this would be another move that's better in the long run for the owners' checkbooks, that takes some money away from players and forces them to make an adjustment that the vast majority of them just aren't ready to make, leading on to, it's a zero-sum game. So for every young guy that doesn't come up, that's one more veteran hanging on. And I'm not trying to be anti-veterans hanging on or whatever, but there's something new and exciting about these young guys coming up. There's something so established and entrenched about the minor league system there in baseball that, yeah, it might be good for college baseball to have more talent stick around a little bit longer. But if that just means guys get rushed to the pros and they haven't seen pro pitching and then they're going to flail and flame out, there's no way that can be worth it in the long run for baseball.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, too, going back to the point that he made in his tweet about the 3-week slump can teach you a lot more than the 3-week high. And that's, I hate seeing anybody in baseball fail because no one's ever going out there trying to strike out is always my thought process. None of my favorite players are trying to play bad. But even for guys like Max Clark, I'm not a Tigers fan, Max Clark fan, but you see some of the struggles he is having. It's like, oh, like that sucks, but that's exactly what it's for. He's still, I want to say, under the age of 23 to be for sure. I think he was a couple years younger than me when he was in high school. And it's like, these are guys that have the talent, like he's saying, but maybe they do have to go through these struggles because if not, then you're stuck with some guys who they're called the quadruple A players who are just going up and down, up and down. And it's like Keston Hiura, the guys who supposed to be so great and they were very talented, but sometimes that lack of adversity is going to be the reason you're not going to stick around. And I think that is something that I do enjoy seeing guys get through because then they are built for it once they do get there. I mean, rushed guys, Dylan Cruz, that's a guy who I was very big on coming out of LSU, and I think the Nationals rushed him a little bit. Hopefully he figures it out too because they do have a talented young core there that they're hopefully trying to build. But at the same time, like that's someone that it's so easy to label people as bust and all this in any sport. But like that, it's baseball. It's the hardest sport in the world. You're not for football. Like, okay, you had a bad quarterback. We get rid of him. We'll try to draft one this year. You're not going to find another Dylan Cruz regardless. And I at least to what he could be, you're not going to find another Max Clark. And these are guys that play the hardest sport in the world at the highest level. And of course you're going to strike out a little more now. And I think like that, I was looking at Ivan Melendez's stats today, who he put out so many I think he had 20 something home runs his last year, but again, 150 strikeouts. It's like,
and where did he hit those homers for, Rudy?
The Texas Longhorns. Yes,
okay.
Exactly.
So
and so
make
like
sure
that,
people are clear on that.
Yes. Thank you. And so like that, like there's guys that they have the talent. They're a couple tweaks away from being what they could be. And it's just, it is such a rush sport right now where if you don't have it, you're out of here. But that's the thing. It's like baseball can't be that sport for you. That's maybe a football thing, maybe a basketball thing. You got guys coming in like that every year that can make an impact immediately, but the guys that develop, the guys that do grind it out and figure it out over those years are going to be your better guys. And I agree with that. I wish the more owners, more of the MLB higher ups kind of saw that that is what's going to make the game good in a couple years. Maybe not at this exact second, but it's going to pay off at some point. That's why you see the bigger names showing up over the years. And it is crazy to see, like, yeah, obviously you're going to have your Sotos that just fly through it all, but that's not necessarily the norm for the hardest sport in the world. And they just doesn't seem like they understand that entirely.
Completely agree. We'll be back to wrap up Old School, get you set up for the Corner 3 right after this.
Watch Old School live on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. Old School with Foreman and Orman on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Jack Russell of Farm Bureau Financial Services is here to help you protect things that are most important to you. Whether it's your home, your family, or your future, Jack Russell has the proven experience to get the job done while developing authentic relationships with you. Give Jack a call today at 402-421-9100. Again, that's 402-421-9100. Or visit one of his 2 locations in Lincoln or Seward and learn how you can excel in the complicated world of insurance. Jack Russell of Farm Bureau Financial Services, a trusted and well-respected representative since 1999.
Are you ready for a new opportunity? Check out Sandhills Global. Join a dynamic team where your skills are valued and your career can soar. We offer full-time positions with a 4.5-day work week, competitive pay, excellent benefits, and a positive work environment. From IT and marketing to sales and finance, we're looking for talented individuals just like you. Apply today at sandhills.jobs and take the first step towards an exciting future. That's sandhills.jobs. Don't wait, apply now.
Hi, it's Sean Callahan here with Koppel Chevrolet GMC in Louisville. Koppel is proud to be the highest rated GMC dealer in the Omaha and Lincoln areas based on Google reviews. Right now, get 0% financing for 60 months on new Silverado and Sierra 1500 models. But hurry, the 0% financing offer won't last long. Visit us in Louisville or check us out online at koppelcars.com.
Bauer Underground has been serving local contractors and utility contractors all across the state since 1997. When you see the black and white trucks, you know that the best workers in the business have arrived. Bauer is currently looking for equipment operators, laborers, diesel mechanics, and aerial linemen. Join the brotherhood built on hard work, authentic people, and a pedigree of success. They're offering top-notch benefits, a matching 401k, and a $600 per year clothing allowance. Bauer Underground, a family-friendly company with plenty of room for advancement.
Is there anything worse than paying for something that's done half-assed? You buy something, you want it to work, especially when it comes to your internet. When you're trying to stream a movie, work from home, or shop online, half-assed internet doesn't get it done. At Allo Fiber, we don't do anything half-assed. We offer 100% real fiber and real human support that serves the community from the community. So while others may say they have fiber, in the end, there's half-fast fiber, and then there's Allo Fiber. Allo Fiber, internet built for you.
At Anderson Ford, we offer a 5-day return or exchange policy, so you can make sure the vehicle you choose is the best vehicle for you. No pressure. Right now, lease a 2026 Ford F-150 for $198 per month for 36 months. Experience better at Anderson Ford. Stock number 1008623, $198 per month lease for 36 months with approved credit, 7,500 miles per year, 14,000 due at signing. No security deposit required. Tax, title, and license fees extra. Residency restrictions apply. Program subject to change. Must take new retail delivery from Anderson Auto Group by 7/6/26.
Hi, everyone. Kendall Warnock, owner of A1 Automotive. At A1 Automotive, we believe every vehicle has a purpose, and every customer does too. That's why we focus on dependable repairs, honest recommendations, and exceptional speed in service. Our goal is simple: to help you travel confidently and safely wherever life takes you. A1 Automotive, driven by purpose, built on trust. You can visit us online, a1autolincoln.com, or visit us at either of our 3 locations, 5110 State Hill Drive, 1117 L Street here in Lincoln, and our newest location, 408 Main Street, Seward, Nebraska.
Graham Tire presents life's greatest adventures.
Okay, buddy, here we go. Just keep your eye on the ball. All right, just swing right through it. Yeah, good job. Way to go. Hey, run it out. Okay.
Great road trips start with great service. Graham Tire, your tire store next door, with 5 convenient Lincoln locations, getting you to the places that matter most.
It's the best time of the year to order a new John Deere air seeder during Landmark Implement's early order program. Take your seeding performance to the next level with John Deere's advanced air seeding technology. Achieve precise seed and fertilizer placement. With innovative openers and section control, you can maximize efficiency and reduce input costs. Now is the time to lock in the best price of the year during Landmark Implement's air seeder early order program. Contact your local Landmark location for details and experience the Landmark difference.
Is your technology built for where you are or for where you're going? Can your current technology support future growth? To break through that invisible ceiling, you need executive-level strategic technology advising. Moser can help your business grow appropriately and efficiently, giving you the ability to turn your tech stack from a cost center into a growth engine. Visit moserit.com/theticket. That's moserit.com/THETICKET to learn more.
Hey Husker Nation, this is Todd Euler, two-time national champion with Window World Lincoln. Are you ready to transform your home? We offer exceptional replacement windows, doors, siding, and roofing that will elevate your home's curb appeal and value. As a nationally known, locally owned business, we treat you like family and work tirelessly to deliver the best for less. Don't wait to give your home the upgrade it deserves. Contact Window World Lincoln today at 464-7313 or check out windowworldlincoln.com. Let's make your home the talk of the neighborhood.
At Schwieso Construction, safety isn't just a policy, it's a promise. Build with us. Work safe, go home proud. We're hiring skilled craftsmen, laborers, concrete workers, and steel erectors who value quality work and a team that has your back, on and off the job site. If you're ready to be part of a company where your safety and success come first, visit Schwieso.com. That's SCHWISOW.com and apply today. Schwieso Construction, 40 years strong and still building the future.
Back to old school with Foreman and Orman on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
One final time for the day. Let's go ahead and welcome you back into old school. I'm Austin. He's Rudy. And Rudy, my heart is broken. Bobby Witt Jr. might be headed to the injured list. Grade 1 MCL sprain for the superstar shortstop. If it couldn't get worse, well, just ask Buddy Bell. You never say it can't get worse. So that's where I'm at mentally right now.
Yeah, I don't shy away. I'm not a huge Royals fan. I mean,
how dare you? First of all,
there's been some times where I've seen my Blue Jays lose in some fun games over there, I guess. But yeah, that's just unfortunate. I think Bobby Witt's one of the most fun players to watch in the league. It just, again, I wish the team around him was a little better at times, and that record reflected it. But that's extremely unfortunate. Did it happen on a certain play or anything?
Yeah. So what happened was in the fourth inning, I want to say, in last night's game, Bobby went to a knee to cut off a ball going to the outfield. So he's on the grass, and he's made this play probably 1,000 times or so, and just this time must hit something just wrong. He got the ball pretty clean on the slide. Might have been able to get the force out at second to end the inning, had to put in his pocket, and was grimacing right away, just kind of angrily flipped the ball back to the infield on the ground. Finished out the inning, and that was that. He was removed for Tyler Tolbert, of all people. So, it's a play that we've seen Bobby Witt make before plenty of times. Hit a home run in the second inning of that game and had to get removed. You have this from Max on Twitter. Not a Royals fan, but that manager might have the longest leash in the league. I've had this conversation on Royals Recap and in other circles as well. I don't want to sell the job that Matt Quatraro has done short. I think that he's not beyond reproach. He's not beyond criticism. I think there's only so much that a manager can control in the day-to-day, aside from the lineup. Even some bullpen decisions are his decisions to make, but also out of his hands sometimes as well, based on availability. This is a guy that helped engineer a 30-win turnaround in 1 year, which, semi-miraculous. Then got the Royals to the brink of the playoffs last year, with a bunch of injuries. And then again, this year, injuries aren't the only reason that the Royals are underperforming. And Max says, well, they have the talent. But do they? They have Bobby Witt Jr., but Michael Garcia's taken a step back. Salvador Perez is old. Vinny Pasquantino has been a 115 OPS plus guy, and has been injured the last few years as well. Now, they haven't fixed second base. They've had a bottom 3 offensive outfield in baseball really since Alex Gordon retired. Not like he was lighting it up, anyways. Rotation has been
good, but injured, and bullpen's been up and down. So hypothetically, they have the talent. It just hasn't manifested consistently. So I don't know if I want to even give them credit for having the talent if this is what it looks like,
Yeah, I think too, like, I don't know. It's just, it's again, sorry to do this. It kind of has that Husker football feeling to it where it's like,
oh, but the Royals were never as good as Husker football.
See,
this is more normal.
Okay,
for
that's
me.
fair.
This is more normal for me.
See, I just mean along the lines of like, you kind of don't have, like, you're not in a poverty situation to where it's like, oh, they're doomed. Like the Rockies. The Rockies, I got no hope for them. I'm sorry. They can start the season as hard as they want, but now they're the Rockies again.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the Royals have a top 5 player in baseball easily when he's healthy. Now I can say that, but like you should be able to build around that. And again, it's baseball. It's a little different how free agents decide where they want to go, and more than likely they're wearing Dodger blue. But it's I just think like that. Like it shouldn't be this hard to get some, at least not even elite talent, just better talent maybe in Kansas City. I don't know. It just feels like that shouldn't be the biggest issue, but I want it to get there for you guys.
I do too. I thought this was the year they could have contended for the division and a wild card. Even in this weekend American League, the Royals are pretty far out of the race, 14 or 15 games below 500. Rudy, appreciate you hopping on Old School. Thanks, my guy.
Of course. I'll be on later tonight. So yeah, good prep.
It's true. Rudy will be back with you coming up at 7 p.m. Coming up here our next hour, though, it will be the Corner 3. We'll hop over to that show live on radio till about 6:25 or so. At 6:30, it'll be a Royals and Cardinals game 2 here on the air. I got Matt Noby, Husker Hoop Central, coming in, doing some Husker basketball history. Why are there so few Husker basketball players, men's or women, in the Nebraska Athletics Hall of Fame? And who are the next 5 players that Matt and I would put into the Nebraska basketball specific Hall of Fame? That is the topic at hand. We'll get to that coming up next here on 93.7 The Ticket.
Graham Tire presents life's greatest adventures.
Okay, buddy, here we go. Just keep your eye on the ball. All right, just swing right through it. Yeah, good job. Way to go. Hey, run it out. Okay.
Great road trips start with great service. Graham Tire, your tire